I've literally just forgotten. I said for the anniversary I'd wear the goofy hat, and I'm not wearing the goofy hat.
Oh, yeah. We'll just say you are.
Okay, yeah, I am wearing the goofy hat.
It's an audio-only podcast. She's fully dressed as Goofy. That's what you need to understand is...
I'm in a full Goofy suit. Oh my God. My face in the mouth. Oh, that is so grim.
I have a very vivid imagination, so I want you to know that I am seeing this right now.
Yeah, my face in the mouth. There's no like black mesh to hide there's a person inside. It's literally just my face in the mouth.
Can you imagine just like you're standing in the corner of a dark room and you can just see your little eyes just like poking out of Goofy's open jaw.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
That would be a great indie horror game if you're being chased by someone in a Goofy costume, but there was just a person and poking out. Hello and welcome back to Indieventure, a podcast all about the wonderful world of indie games. My name is Liam Richardson and I'm joined as ever by my two besties, Rebecca Jones
Hiya.
And Rachel Watts.
Hello.
In today's episode, we're celebrating a huge milestone for the podcast. It's our first year anniversary. On the 18th of October 2023, we began our adventure as independent creators, releasing our very first episode of this very podcast. I'd argue everything that's great about Indieventure was there from the very beginning. Breezy yet informative chats about recently released indie bangers, interesting hyperfixations, and deranged bits that make us laugh more than our listeners. Honestly, listening back to it now, you'd almost think we'd already done 15 episodes of an identically structured podcast, but let's not dwell on that before IGN shoot me in the neck with a gun. In the 12 months since, we have released 24 episodes of Indieventure, as well as 2 bonus interviews, totaling a truly ridiculous 38 hours, 31 minutes, and 26 seconds of audio.
Oh my God!
Which is just simply too much podcasting. Within those episodes, we have spoken about at least 254 games, not including the drive-by recommendations we often make that aren't added to Rebecca's incredible episode notes. That works out as 10.5 games per episode, which is simply too many games.
Oh my God! That is incredible.
That is wild, right?
That's shock. I'm shocked.
Yeah, right.
Of those 24 numbered episodes, 8 are lists, which explains how we've spoken about 254 fucking games. 5 are focus topics, and 1 is responsible for creating the now mythical deity known only as Big John the Baby.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Big John for life.
Big John for death. That is a creature from the underworld. We also launched our website, which has allowed us to list all of the games we discuss for reference purposes, as well as allowing us to distill our weirdness into searchable tags. Hilariously, and this is no word of a lie, our most used episode tag is AAA chat illegal, which indicates when we've spoken about a AAA game, and our 4th most used episode tag is dubious definition of indie. Mm-hmm. Which I use when we've got a nebulous categorization of what an indie game even is. It begs the question, are we even an indie game podcast? And perhaps it is Indieventure that is the real dubious definition of indie. So obviously it goes without saying that we couldn't have gotten this far without all of you listening. So a huge thank you to all of our listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
We appreciate you and your continued support so much. And by the time you're listening to this, we'll have just hit 15,000 downloads, which is baffling. It makes us feel all warm in our tum-tums.
Yes.
Now, before I ask you both a few questions about our first year and finally shut the fuck up for a bit, are you up for playing a very quick game?
Always.
Oh God, okay. Yes.
So, I actually hand-coded something in WordPress yesterday so I could see how many times we've mentioned individual games in episodes over the last year.
Okay.
So, would you like to guess the 5 games we've spoken about the most since starting Indieventure?
I strongly feel I'm about to be fucking shamed to pieces for my ability to hyperfixate for years at a time.
Well, what I'll say, Rebecca, is that 1 game is first and then 6 games are joint second.
Okay.
So I'll give you 5 attempts to guess 5.
Okay.
But let's see if you can do it.
Look,
So just
there's no
shout
way that between us we've not put Ace Attorney on there. It's got to be on there.
Well, Ace Attorney we don't put on the website 'cause it's not indie.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're doing it that way. Okay.
Oh,
I
do.
see.
Well, actually, I do track how many times we mention it by the tag "gay lawyers mentioned,"
We have our gay lawyers tag on the website. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
which is the
okay.
4th most used tag.
Of course it is.
But in terms of indies, yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, now
Monster
okay.
Prom.
Monster Prom's got to be on
Monster
there.
Prom is joint second. Yep.
Yes.
We've talked about that in 5 episodes.
Oh, I feel like okay. Right, this got a lot more difficult now that I know that my own weirdness is not skewing it completely out of true.
Oberdin?
Nope.
Dredge.
Got 3 more
Hypnospace?
guesses left. Hypnospace is joint second. Dredge is not.
On.
Last guess.
Oh, we're on last guess already. Oh my god. Okay. The pressure. It's on. I don't know. Rachel looks so thoughtful right now.
Yeah, this is a really good question.
Yeah.
The number 1 game, which we've talked about on 7 episodes, did not surprise me, but I was like, oh yeah, I guess we have spoken about it a lot. Like, now that I think about it, it makes sense.
Tiny
But
Life. I know we talk
wasn't
about
expecting
Tiny
it.
Life a lot.
No.
Oh,
You're assuming
Braid.
you hyperfixate more than you do.
Yeah.
Is it Braid?
It's right, so it's not. But when I was coding this yesterday, I was like, oh my god, we do mention it so
We
much.
do. We do.
It's not Braid. I'm very thankful it's not, but that would be very funny if it was. So I'll go through the joint seconds first. So
Okay.
Hypnospace and Monster Prom you got.
Mhm.
Paradise Killer,
Okay, that makes
Mm.
sense.
Firewatch,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Hades,
Mhm.
and 1,000 Times Resist,
Oh, interesting.
Hell yes.
which I was
Oh,
surprised
yeah.
at.
Hell yes.
And the number 1 with 7 episodes is Stardew Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
We do
That's
talk
so
about Stardew
good.
a lot.
I would not have called that, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by it. Yeah, the way that you immediately, Rebecca, were like, oh, it must be a game I talk about all the time.
It must
Like,
be.
like-
Oh God, what have I done? I'm about to be exposed. I mean, it would be if
nope.
you had not, if you had not very generously like cut around it.
I mean, Monster Prom is there because of you, for sure.
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
that
because
wasn't us
I'm
two.
still trying to get you two to play it. I mean, it's like it makes sense, right? Like all of that is vault stuff, so that makes sense on a number of levels to me.
Yeah.
That like they're all
same.
vault. Like frankly, if one of them wasn't in the vault, then we should add it at this point, right? Surely. No, wait, 1,000 times resist, guys. Technically isn't so.
Yeah, the only one there that isn't is 1,000 Times Resist.
Interesting.
Well, not
That
for
is
long.
interesting.
Well,
Not for long.
Oh, hello. Hello.
The teaser for another episode.
I got 2 questions for you both here. The first
Mm-hmm.
one is 1 year in, what does Indieventure mean to you? Rebecca, would you like to go first?
Okay. Oh, this is scary. It's like a little bit sort of like between like slightly proper interview-esque question and also like, oh my god, how schmaltzy do I go?
It's preparing us for when we win all those awards and stuff, you know.
I know, right? But you get to prep when you win awards. I think it's just like it's a very cool thing that I get to do every 2 weeks with 2 of my besties. You know, it's like a lovely, and I'm just really flattered that people are still listening and like reading ahead through some of the questions we're going to respond to today. Like the fact that people are really paying attention to what we're saying and seem to really enjoy it like as much as we enjoy recording is just so sweet and flattering. And honestly, like
Yeah.
when I got into games media, that was the sort of thing that I really wanted to be a part of. And so it's been lovely to find my tribe in that way and get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
Love
It's
that.
a good answer. What about you, Rachel?
Well, nothing really, no. I have nothing to say. Honestly, not. This is like the best thing I've done since joining the industry. Like, this is hands down the best
Oh, yeah.
creative outlet I've done, like writing included. Like, writing's fun and pays the rent, but like, this is genuinely something that I care about so much. I know you two care about it just as much as I do as well, which is so nice. And the fact we just get to gab about like basically like my life is indie games at this point. So I just love that. And we're always on the same page and have a good time. And I just love that.
Yeah.
It's just, we're so unserious. Like,
Yes.
I just know that we can just turn on the mics and just have a good time. And I think that's really...
Yeah, definitely.
That can't be understated how much that's like important when we make these episodes. Like the ability to just be like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. But actually, as soon as like we get on Discord, it's like 10 minutes in and I'm already laughing. I think that's just such a wonderful thing. And I swear everyone should do it. I think everyone should have a podcast. I'm not even joking. Like if no one listens or if you just want to record it, like you and your bestie just like chatting and recording it. And then like 10 years listening to it back, like I absolutely believe like everyone should do it. Like maybe not everyone, you know. Maybe some people have there's a certain demographic of people that have too many podcasts. But anyway, I honestly think it's so much fun and really easy to do. And just, I've said this so many times, but we're all going to be 80 and I'm going to be listening to these episodes being like, oh, yes, I remember that. And wearing my goofy hat.
Hell yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I remember.
What about you, Liam? Yeah. You get all soppy now.
Yeah, you're not getting away with it.
I mean, you've just said everything I was going to say. I mean, obviously, I'm in this for the free indie games. No.
I mean, that's pretty nice, though. That's pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I'm not going to lie. Thank you for sending them, PRs.
Thank you.
Literally the same. First and foremost, the thing I love about this is that, and you're right, Rachel, it's just keeping in touch with you two. Like, that is the thing I value the most about this. Even if we weren't recording this, getting to keep in touch with you every fortnight and chat shit and have a laugh is so valuable to me. And it is something that I was worried that we were going to lose when we left the last place.
Yeah.
So first
Absolutely.
and foremost, if we drop to no listeners tomorrow, if we were still having fun doing it, that's all that matters. And I think that makes it, like you're saying, the most rewarding creative project I've ever done, but also the most valuable because it's the first time I've ever done something with no expectations other than I just like hanging out with these people and talking about this thing that I've always thought about anyway.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a way to keep on top of indies as well. And I like championing hidden gems. And it's really nice when people say, oh, I had never heard of this game until one of you mentioned it. And it's like, cool. Like, I love that we've sort of done a bit of a public service about something here. And also it's just a way to keep a foot in the door of games media for me. Like, I wanted to be a games journalist my whole life. I did it for like just under 2 years. And this feels as good as working full time ever did. I really love this thing that we make together.
Yes.
But that's enough of that soppiness.
I know, it's so nice.
Next question I've got for the two of you is, what's been your favorite episode so far? Rachel, why don't you start on this one?
Oh shit. There's a few because we have different categories, don't we? When we plan episodes as well. It's like, we have the bit of bullshit episodes, we have the topic episodes, vault episodes. I think the in-person episode is it was so much fun, even though I wouldn't. That's the one I would least recommend people like, because I'm like,
Same.
that is wild. Like, if you started on that episode, I am so sorry almost, but kind of not really. Because it's
tough hang, I think.
Yeah. I'm like, could you not have started with like the music one we did recently? Like, that's the one actually that I've had the most like in my life. People have come to me being like, I listened to the music one and it was like, that one was really good. Like I had like, it got me thinking about music and stuff. So that one I really liked. But I mean, these are all like ones we did very recently, so I just feel like even this one would be my next favorite one. The next one would be my next favorite one. Yeah. Those are two I can think off the top of my head. The in-person one was so fun, like so much fun.
It's one of my favorite memories of this year. Just outside of the context of the podcast. It was
such a great weekend, and it was really lovely recording that part. That episode came out so well, although as you say, like probably impenetrably weird because without like the slight delay of Discord, the three of us talking to each other becomes its own language, and I'm so impressed that anyone who's not us made it to the end. But yeah, I think that would have to be my favorite as well. I really like doing Vault episodes generally, which I realized that live episode was. I love lists is probably not shocking to anyone who's ever listened to an episode of this podcast, is that I just love making lists on like obscure and esoteric criteria, and so the Vault fulfills like that need
Yeah.
I have to be constantly like re-examining things from different angles and like assessing them like that. So basically, yeah, all the vault stuff we've done is what comes to mind when I think of like my favorite things to structure. And also, I'm just really trying not to accidentally plug the other podcast in, like, because I forget which is which when we get to the sort of like
Yes.
middle territory.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Which episode are you thinking of?
I was
from
just thinking
Redacted?
about like, I particularly really like doing the Valentine's Day episode. That was like such a niche and weird
Yes.
thing
That was
to
fun.
like do quite
Yeah.
early on. I know that was from the old show. But like seasonal ones generally, especially if we've got a bit of an unusual angle like that, are always really fun as well to like look at a seasonal topic. And that's why I always like shoehorn my, like when we were doing Free Indies last episode, and I was like, it's kind of Christmassy when you think about it, because I just really enjoy like pinning it to the calendar in that way.
Well, we've got a handful of them coming up, seeing as though we're bulk recording. So get ready for some seasonal episodes, because I'm going to Mexico for 3 weeks and throwing the schedule of this podcast off a lot.
It's going to be so fun, because I was like, I'll record the Halloween episode. Like, I'll put on a costume just for us, just for gags. And I'm like, we're recording that on like October 15th. I don't have a Halloween costume yet. So we'll see.
How about you, Liam?
My favorite episode is, I think it's the May Indies one that we did.
Oh,
That
the
was
Indie Mayhem one?
That was really good.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Rachel,
Yes.
that title still gets me every time I see it on the list. That was like
Yeah, so good.
so casually threw out like, the perfect title for it. It was so good.
Yes.
I think it just really felt like we were firing on all cylinders. I felt like we hit every important release of that month in a way that felt very complete. Like all three of us played such different games. There was a little bit of crossover between us. And I've listened back to that one once or twice since it went live. And I'm always quite surprised by just how much stuff we spoke about in that episode. Even by our standards, I felt like we had like good takes on so much stuff.
I mean,
Yes.
that was the month where
I
like
don't know how we did it.
8 indie games released on the same day. There was just a point
Well,
where
that's
we
mostly what we spoke about.
we
with
had
games that all
to.
dropped on the
Yes.
same day.
May the 9th, the Indie Apocalypse. Yeah, that was
That was it, May 9th, yeah.
God.
such a wild day.
Do you also really like the episode about what success looks like for indie games? I feel
Yes.
like there's like 2 episodes of the podcast I've like taken notes of. One of them is that one, and the other one was your interview with Xavier Liam. Like literally, I had like so many.
Thank you.
Yes.
Listen to that episode; it is so interesting. That guy is so
Fascinating.
But yeah, so one of them was the Xavier interview, and the other one was what does success look like for indie games? Because that was genuinely really insightful conversation from the 3 of us. Like that was a really good one.
I really love doing
Very
that. I
much
would
like
love
one.
to revisit that topic as well, because I frequently have thoughts and ideas, and I like want to go and add them onto that episode, because there's just so many factors to like I don't know, it's really fascinating to me. Just the whole I mean, like, one of the things that I like about games media is that I am interested in games as entertainment, but also in the industry. And so this is like a really, when we really get into that whole like how does this hang together as a medium, I get really like intrigued by the details. So yeah, maybe we should revisit that at some point, or like do a similar concept again, because I feel like that one like really spun out of like trying to define indies, and that was like the next logical step was then to be like, what what is an indie, and then what does success look like, and like if we can think of a third kind of central question to continue that conversation, that would be cool.
That's a really good idea. Yeah,
love that.
Well, if you have a favorite episode, listener, shout it out loud right now. Oh, I like that one too. Right, moving on.
That
one,
all good.
Oh, that was shit.
There's literally I don't think we've ever done an episode that I wouldn't listen back to, because I'm just like, oh no, that's too embarrassing, or I just don't feel like
Yeah, that's true for me as well. I was trying to think, and I'm like, there's definitely moments where I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have snipped what I said there out. But ultimately, absolutely stand by everything.
I think it's because there's like no episode that I don't have like good memories of recording, even when the ones that I feel like I couldn't contribute to maybe as much because like I was less knowledgeable on the topic or the games at hand or whatever. It's like, even when there's stuff where I've said it and I'm like, that would have been embarrassing in a different context, I'm like, no, it was just a great chat with my friends. They get me. So it's all good.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, it's what we were saying before, right? I agree. Although sometimes I do listen back and I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, Oh, are you describing something as interesting again, Liam? How quaint. Right.
No,
Use another word.
Well, I think maybe I get the best of this because I work with two great editors who always make me sound a lot smarter and more eloquent than I really am. But I'm, pleasantly surprised when I get to a point where I'm like, that was surely incredibly embarrassing, and it never is as bad as I remember it.
No, tell you what, it's not really for me. It's just about a lot of the editing that I do is like making sure we don't step on each other.
Yeah.
Like everything we say is golden. I'm like, oh, it's so golden. I need everyone to hear every sentence that either any one of us says at any given moment, like every single one. So me, it's just prying those apart. I'm like, right, I got to work out, okay, me and Liam said something simultaneously. Now I need to work out this whole timeline in which we can both say things at the same time. And it's the worst when two people say things at the same time and then laugh at what the other person has said. So good.
We do that so often. Three of us will say something funny. I'm like, oh, right, okay, here we go. I've got to pay attention now. Got to pause Vampire Survivors for a second.
Oh, no.
Right. Moving on. Congrats to the three of us.
Yay.
I love this thing, and I'm so happy that we do it together and that we still like each other after 12 months. Or 2 years, really, of doing podcasting.
Oh my God, it is. It's just, the thing that is kind of wild to me is like, comparatively, we barely knew each other when we first started podcasting together. Like,
I know. I think
that is wild to think about.
We'd only met really quite recently, all things considered.
So fucking funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Goddamn.
And now look at us.
Now we know where all the bodies are buried. It's
wow.
All the places we've pooped. Yeah. Yeah, got that full rundown.
Are you going to make me cut that out, are you, Rachel? Am I allowed to keep that?
It happened again, listeners. It happened again. Last episode, there was another poo bit, and I cut it out.
She won't let us put the poo bit in. Did you see the tag I added to the website?
No,
which one was that?
It's Rachel. It's like it said something like Rachel censored pee pee poo poo chat with a sad face. Just before we move on to the questions, when you mentioned before about like, oh, we actually have structures and categories for when we do these episodes, like they're not that loosey-goosey. And even our most deranged ones, we do plan in advance.
Yes.
It reminded me of one of my favourite memories of the three of us when we went to Comic-Con last year when we just started Indieventure.
Yes.
And we were stood outside a pub in Soho and we were all drinking pints.
Yeah.
And you like turned around and just like gesticulated really wide and you went, we need to do a nonsense episode. We need some more bullshit. We're being too serious so far. And that just really got me.
Oh gosh.
Always have a bit of bullshit.
Gotta have a bit of bullshit. Right, shall we answer some questions, speaking of bullshit?
Yes.
Yes. Mailbag.
Oh, I like that. No, please. That's
No,
I
I liked where you were going. You went for a much different vibe than I. Hello and welcome. And there's me going, mailbag.
I might just keep you doing that slightly quietly in the background.
I have to ask, just before we go on, how often have we used the tag Rachel is overcome by the power of song? Because it's got to be ticking up there.
God.
It's got to be ticking up there as one of the most used ones.
Let me log in. Log into WordPress.
I don't think it's quite at gay lawyer phase yet, but it's getting there.
It really is.
Rachel is overcome by the power of song. 5 episodes.
5? I was going to guess 3. Oh, God.
Now 6.
Oh, because I sing a lot. I'm overcome.
No, that tag should be on 24 as far as I'm concerned. 25, including you singing mailbag there. Right. Hello, welcome to section 1. We asked you for some questions and you delivered, so thank you for that. Some of them very deranged. We'll get to that more in the end, David. With your most deranged question.
What is this question?
David?
Okay, David, I just want you to know, Liam has been picking this up to us all day, this particular question. We don't know what it is. We know what the other questions are in advance. We don't know this one. We're all a bit scared.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, I'm scared as well.
I've left one for the end. So, shall we dive in with the first question? I believe, Rebecca, you'll be reading this one out.
I will. So this one came from Anders Carlson via YouTube. Thank you, Anders. Who has asked, by what methods do the three of you find interesting indie games in the first place, since they often don't have much advertising? Industry buzz, word of mouth, a review source, events like Indie Cup? The answer is probably all of the above, but do you tend towards some sources?
It's a really good question.
It's a great question.
That is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anders.
I mean, I can go first if you guys want a minute to think.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's a weird one because I realized that the way I find a lot of stuff is because I am really into games content on YouTube. It's actually how I got into like interest in games media in the first place. And I don't watch a lot of different people, but I guess I have quite a wide variety in who I do watch, as long as they at some point do horror games. That's probably the big crossover. But like I'll see something that's interesting, and if I think it looks really cool, I'll watch like half an hour of it, and then I'll go and check that out. And that does. I mean, obviously the other main source probably Rachel, because she always knows about the great stuff like months before it's happening. But yeah, just like kind of keeping an eye on, like, honestly, a lot of like YouTube feeds is my main one. What about you guys?
I was going to say you two as well. I feel like I get the majority of my recommendations from this podcast in real time, which is quite funny. I do check Steam's new and trending tab every day. I've done that for a long time, even before I worked in games media. So that's a helpful habit because you can see things that are kind of popping off on the day that they're released. So that's always good to find new things. In terms of like traditional games media publications, Aftermath, Eurogamer, and Edge.
Yeah.
Edge is really good for highlighting indies, especially in their upcoming section. Yeah, I think it's something that they don't get as much credit for. And the last thing I use is SteamDB's calendar function, or just their upcoming releases tab. That's just a good way of looking for the month ahead, and especially if I'm trying to think of stuff that I want to reach out about code or anything else for this podcast. That's a nice way of thinking, okay, well, what lines up with episodes that we've got coming out? But ultimately, what I will say, Anders, is that it's really fucking hard. And even when I worked for a website that specialized in indie games full time, there's too much. There's just simply too much.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was when we used to have access to that inbox that we all had at that place. That was that had like 150 emails a second.
I'm still hearing about it through that as well. But like the thing that I find, because so for just the context, if people aren't aware, I still work for the same company but a different site, and so I'm still on essentially the same mailing lists. Yeah. So we get those. Most of them are sent to every site in the network. But there is, again, it's just, I feel bad because there's such a high volume every, like several times an hour you will get, people sending indie game stuff through. And like, I do look at them, and I do, if something really grabs me, I will kind of look into it, but it has to really grab me for that to be my only source, just because they're like such a slew of information. And as Liam says, there has to be some way of like filtering it. And I think for me, it is like, okay, like a content creator on YouTube has kind of shouted out this creator. And after that, I'll end up following a creator themselves, which I probably should have like addended onto what I said as well, is that like I end up following like, Dread XP, for example, have such a wide reach now. And I will always check out a new Dread XP game because I have that relationship with that publisher or that developer. And that's, that's another way of deciding what to keep up with, is if I'm really into like someone's work specifically, I'll have like Google alerts for them set up and follow them on like social media and stuff.
Smart. Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like that initial contact is usually just through a chance encounter via a cool looking clip. But yeah, after that, I'll kind of like curate it a bit more and make sure that follow-ups kind of come within my reach and stuff.
For me, unfortunately for me, the big two are Twitter and TikTok. But as someone who does not really want to engage with them much anymore, I found other ways to like it's kind of like what you were saying, Rebecca, about certain content creators. So I just find people or outlets that specifically genre-wise like the same games I do. So, for example, like the Cozy Gamers Club, they have a YouTube channel, a TikTok account, and I think they do some Twitter stuff as well. They're all about cozy games, and they like handpick some really good like demos or things from events that I might have missed. Then there's Thinky Games, where I work for, which if you love puzzle games, they are really good at like highlighting very small niche puzzle games. One website I use for demos in particular is called Alpha Beta Gamer. They are so good.
Yes, I follow them. Yeah, they're one of the ones I follow.
They are really great at playing so many demos, but not only that, like picking some really good choices. Like a lot of the time, if there's a Steam Next Fest, or I want like a half an hour of something quick, I will go onto alphabetagamer.com and I will find just like stuff they've played. And their posts are very quick. Normally it's like a GIF, so you get the vibe of the game, like a very quick description, some quick impressions, and then a link to the Steam page. So just finding places like that. Oh, I mean, and obviously this podcast, like finding creators who is just not just a barrage of shit like Twitter and TikTok, even though they are good. I can't recommend them off the fact that it's Twitter and TikTok. Like I don't feel good about that. So I think for me, just finding smaller creators that align and just trying loads of places. God, I listened to so many podcasts and I was like, no, they're not quite for me. Or YouTubers, I'm like, no, they're not quite for me. But when I do find someone, I hold on to them tight and I'm like, I will play everything you recommend me. But like journalists as well. And yeah, props to Eurogamer, props to Edge. I think those two are, what was the third one you said, Liam?
Aftermath.
Yes. Websites like that, also very good. Yeah. Edge is brilliant, fantastic. Normally when I find an indie game, I'm like, no one has talked about this. And I'm like, oh no, Edge did it like 4 issues ago. Yeah. So yeah.
There's almost always someone who's talked about the thing that you think you've just like discovered organically as well.
100%. Yeah.
I'm just like, God damn it. Because sometimes with me, I don't want to be that girl, but I'm like, it's surprising when someone mentions a game and I've not heard of it. I'm a bit like, how come I've not heard of this game? So I always like it when it happens, but especially when I'm pitching to places as a freelancer, I'm like, you've not talked about this game. Yes, they have. They have talked about this game. Fuck. It's like...
I've got to say, it is a matter of like personal pride to me when I mention a game and you're like, I haven't heard of this. I'm like, get in. Yes, I did it. I know something Rachel didn't know about indie games. That's actually like really surprising to me because you are just a font of knowledge when it comes to cool shit.
Oh, God.
The part of my brain and Rebecca's as well that's like occupied by like Genshin and Dead Rising.
Yes.
You have free for cool
it's
stuff
free
that's
space.
indie related. Yeah.
I like to think of myself as a generalist. Thank you very much.
Me too, mate. I'm right there with you. But yeah, I hope that answers it. Like, we do have a bit of a cheat code with us being still within the media. Like, we do have a good relationship with PRs and they will get in touch. And if we have if they've helped us with stuff in the past and they're like, hey, you covered this, like this new thing that we've got, you should check it out. Like, that's a good way of doing it. We'll also give a shout out to Ed over at RPS because I think he's very good at curating.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I do check back in with RPS to see what's been kicking in reviews lately. Keep an eye on it there. I mean, obviously we all worked there, so we know, but like just the volume of indie recs that go up on that site it's almost like approaching the whole I don't know where to focus my attention again thing. This one, actually, can I just do one more? I've thought of another kind of way in that I think is potentially interesting to people who aren't in games media, because another thing that I do, again, with my fascination with lists, is if I find somewhere that just curates information in an interesting way, I get a lot of recs from there. Like one place that I get a fair few of my more niche recs is like Gaming Mag, gaming with a Y, the sort of like queer gaming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And another really odd one actually is I spend a lot of time on TV tropes. And if you just like do a bit of a wiki walk through TV tropes, looking at tropes from games you like, you'll often find other similar games that then end up like kind of coming onto your radar in ways that they wouldn't necessarily. So I've actually had a ridiculous number of recs through TV tropes now that I think about it.
That is wild. That is a wild way of finding new games. But
that's great.
But it is so you. That's so funny.
Yeah, you'll go onto like TV tropes and you'll be like, I want to look at TV tropes about Doki Doki Literature Club, and they'll be like, another similar game is You and Me and Her, and I'll be like, I've never heard of that, but now I'm going to go look at that game, and it really is quite similar to Doki Doki Literature Club, and it's like, okay, that's cool,
really good recommendation. Yeah, that's wild.
And that's one that you don't need access to like an IGN managed games journalist inbox to be able to try it home if you'd like.
Well, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Anders. RPS used to have an indie game podcast. They should bring that back. Rachel, what is the next question?
The speed and volume of which that was tasty. This question is from Jam Warrior, Jammy. Oh, I love Jammy. Oh, my boy, Jammy. Okay. My new vocals to him. Jammy!
Jammy!
Having listened to the latest episode, my question is simple. why haven't you all been around Rachel's to play the Frostpunk board game yet? Oh, God. Also, what indie games, I will get back to that one sec. Also, what indie games should get board game adaptations? Monster Prom Dream Phone, where we live in a world where, where Wilmot's Warehouse board game is a real thing that is happening. So clearly anything is possible. Yes, the Wilmot's Warehouse board game looks so cute and I really, really want it. I'm just waiting for a few more reviews to come out because, that game looks adorable. The reason why no one's been around my house to play the Frostpunk board game yet is I gotta learn the fucking rules. I feel like it's gonna take me weeks to learn the rules. I will play it. I promise. Maybe one day, especially now like Frostpunk 2. Oh my God. Okay. Who has some ideas? Some indie game, board game adaptations? Does anyone have a good one?
Still rattling ideas around, but I feel obliged to mention that Monster Prom actually does have a tabletop game already.
Does it?
It has a card game adaptation that came out last year, I think.
Card game.
And I didn't get it because I watched a few actual plays of it and I was like, it looks fun, but I'm not in a rush to get it. And now it's always sold out. And I'm like, obviously I need to get it at some point, guys. Jeez, help me out. Yeah, like it didn't do, honestly, Dream Phone might have been a more kind of interesting spin on it than they did. Like, it looks fun, but it's a fairly straightforward, like, sort of card matching game.
Yeah,
maybe they should have gone the Dream Phone route, but anyway, and I need to think of ones that haven't actually happened. Because I'm like, there's got to be like a measure of like opportunity in like how many different versions of Cluedo you can get that are licensed properties, and all the detective games we talk about on this podcast. There's got to be some way.
Oh God, yeah,
that can overlap.
You know what? I would buy a Paradise Killer Cluedo.
I was just thinking
Cluedo, but I would buy Paradise Killer Cluedo. Yeah,
man, like the
sexiest Cluedo that ever was.
I mean, there's already been a pretty. Have you seen the latest one? It's pretty sexy. In fact, they've done like a spin-off of it
Miss
now.
White as the butch lesbian who could beat me up and I would fucking enjoy it. Yeah.
What's the new Cluedo that we saw in the shop the other week? I can't. If I try and Google something, everything will fall over. But yeah, there's like a new spin-off version, and everyone's even hotter than they were in the new cover art. And friend of the podcast, Mick and I were both just like very distracted when we saw it in a shop recently.
Oh, incredible.
Professor Plum. Ooh.
Yep.
It's just literally 6 of the hottest people you've ever seen in your life, and they're all murder suspects. So
just the best.
Yeah. How about you, Liam? Can you think of any good board game adaptations?
So the one I could think of was I really love resource management games, like board games, and I love when they're co-op. And I thought it might be a really good idea to do like an Against the Storm one. So you're all working together to clear glades and obviously drawing cards. So you've got like that randomized roguelike element and just trying to like survive before the queen gets angry at you. A lot of the mechanics of Against the Storm feel like they would map very easily to a board game. But I really like the idea of it being like you are a group of people trying to keep a settlement going and working together rather than working in opposition to one another. Because obviously that game doesn't have any kind of combat elements to it. It's all about survival and things like that.
That's a good one.
That was the only one I could really think about. My imagination does not go very far with board games. But I thought that might be quite fun.
No, that is a good one because it reminds me of like if Everdell was kind of like a bit more mechanically heavy and cooperative, like just these cute animal critters with the making like a working together. That's a good
dark fantasy Everdell. That's what I want.
Yes. Oh, I love Everdell so much.
Me too.
Oh,
God.
God.
It's one of my
It's going to
favorites.
break the fucking bank. I have 2. One would be, it's a bit of a cheat, but Citizen Sleeper would make a fantastic sci-fi board game.
Ooh, that
just
really
because
good,
it already has dice and TTRPG elements. I think having a group of people trying to survive in, on a space shuttle where resources are important and having skill sets and dice rolls, I think that would be amazing. I think they have a TTRPG in the works, but I just think like a board game of like the ship, like a circular board, and then you all have your little characters. You can all you have certain action points, which counts as your energy in the games. You can go to certain places each day, roll dice to make outcomes more interesting. And then also help each other out. I think Citizen Sleeper is really great because it's kind of focused on that community aspect as well. So don't get me wrong, you're trying to fight for yourself, but when you do have excess resources, you can help other players because that's essentially what Citizen Thief is about.
Mhm.
And the second one is Dredge. I think the way you put the fish, you slot the fish onto your ship would make a really good kind of like, what's that? Patchwork? The board game Patchwork, where you have like the cats and you have to fit them onto or is it Calico?
Yeah.
There's different board games that kind of you have different shapes that you have to fit into. And I think you could have like, kind of like you have in Quacks of Guidenberg, that you have like a bag of like tokens and you can open the bag and like fish around and pull out a token. And you could do that with like fish tokens. And then when you pull out a token, you have to fit it onto your ship in some way. And I think that'd be really cool. And then you get to score your fish. Yeah. Or like spots. I'm playing a lot of spots at the moment. The one where it's like Dalmatians and dice.
Oh, yeah.
And you can do that with fish. So you can have like, you have to get certain types of fish to fit into certain types of slots on your ship. And then there's like monsters. And if you grab like a monster token, it's like your ship sinks or something. I don't know. That would be cool. So those are the two I think would be great.
That would be fun. So when Jam asked that question in the Discord yesterday, another listener, Carrigan, said their personal pick would be Dredge, but they said it's kind of getting one with the in development Deep Regrets. If you Google Deep Regrets, it's in Kickstarter right now. It is literally just Dredge, the board game. A game about reeling progressively more horrifying things out of the depths, managing your madness, and pushing your luck at sea.
Oh, this is cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool.
The art style looks great.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I love this question, but I'm running up against the fact that like a lot of the things I'm like, it's like, oh, what if there was like the Lovecraftian games that I really like to play as a board game? I'm like looking over to, my board game collection where I already have like 5 Lovecraftian mystery board games. I'm like, no, I'm running up against like trying to make a game that's already existing.
Very fair point.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks so good, but apart from Frostpunk, I don't kickstart board games. I don't do that.
Yeah.
So
I've done a
either.
couple, but I think I'm really bad at the moment at playing board games. Like,
yeah,
there's something about moving your whole board game collection halfway across the country that makes you just not want to look at it for a while.
That's completely reasonable.
Yeah, there's just a lot of horror stories with like Kickstarter and board games, and like Frostpunk was definitely like, I knew they'd released a game, I trusted them wholeheartedly, but sometimes I don't know, there's like a whole conversation with that, but that was a good question.
It's a great question. I'm kind of like
good board
tempted to recommend stuff like the Boyfriend Dungeon TTRPG, which is already a real thing, and like so many of the cool ideas I could come up with are already a thing.
It's nice that so many indies, it's quite a common path really that a lot of indies end up with board games.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley got one that was designed by Eric Barone, right?
Yeah.
Dorf
Romantic got one the last couple of years, because that was just born to be a board game.
Yes, it was, yeah. I did actually Google it. There's a Five Nights at Freddy's one.
Holy crap.
Of course there is.
Of course. Good old Freddy Fazbear. Next question. This is from Dragon of Time via Discord. When we're saying the Discord, by the way, we don't have an Indieventure Discord. If you're like, they've made a Discord. We just hijack the RPS one because it makes us laugh more than anything, and we do things for the banter first.
Every time you said the Discord all day, I have been tempted to message you back with Liam. We haven't got a Discord.
No, well, we sort of have hijacked one. Squatter's rights at this point. So this is from Dragon of Time. Thank you, Dragon of Time, a long-time listener and commenter on the podcast.
Yeah.
They said, if you could each have a free pass to sneak a AAA or AA, I guess, game into the vault, which would you choose? I think this is such a good question.
This is a good question.
I will get the Peggle answer out of the way so we can move on to serious ones.
But not really, right?
Don't. We're celebrating as a family. We won't argue.
Not at the dinner table. Okay.
Who wants to go first? Rebecca, do you want to go first?
I feel like Rebecca has a list. I feel like Rebecca has like...
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been like agonizing over this one since I saw it, because I'm like, how do you measure like notability in this criteria? If you open the vault, which is very specifically us trying to like highlight indies to all games, what becomes like, is it just my favorite game of all time that goes in there, or is it, do I try and narrow it down in some way? I'm gonna be super predictable, but I have a reason for my predictability here, because I'm gonna chuck in something that I'm endlessly hyperfixated on. We all know that that's who I am as a person, so let's just
Mhm.
I acknowledge that. But one of the things that we do with the Vault, I feel like, is try and highlight stuff that can get missed more easily because of like lack of promotion. And I was thinking of all of the like AA-ish studios who I'm really into. Some of them I'm not going to like use up here because I do feel like there is a case for a Frogwares game to go legitimately into this Vault at some point. So I'm not gonna. That's not what's going to happen here. But I was thinking genuinely of when I've been talking, as I so often am, about like Danganronpa to audiences, and there's a split between people who are like, it's one of the most commonly known things in this industry, and people who are like, you've made that up on the spot and I don't believe it exists. And just to like prove that point, I think I would probably put Trigger Happy Havoc in the Vault, just because I've legitimately had this conversation. And I think that it's this weird thing where like Spike Chunsoft is kind of like a pretty big AA studio, I guess. So it feels a bit too big to be legitimately like the sort of AA we want to highlight, but especially among like Anglophone audiences, it's still pretty niche. And so that will probably be my choice and also it looks good in the Vault. It looks good next to Paradise Killer and like Hades and all of the stuff with that very like bright and stylized art style. It'll look right. It's so pink. Everything's so pink. It's going to look really good. So yeah, that'd be my pick, I think.
It's a good pick. I'm not going to lie. If I had written down an answer in a sealed envelope about what you were going to pick, I would have put a Frogwares game down.
Oh, no, I'm saving that for the real time.
Oh.
What do you mean?
Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 is going in there because they self-published that after they split from their publisher. That's happening one day, maybe.
Rachel, Mum and Dad are going to fight again.
Look. There's a definition of indie. Sorry, I can't even.
We should do a themed Vault episode that's like ones that make each other not angry, but like other ones object to.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I mean, that's how I finally get Peggle in.
Yes.
That's how you get a Frogwares game in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think they've shrunk enough that they're indie now. I think that that's a direction we don't talk about enough, but that's another conversation. Not for the day when we're having a nice
let me just open up the episode document and write down dubious definition of...
I mean, inevitably.
Rachel, what would yours be?
I don't know. I had a thought, a think about this, and genuinely, wholeheartedly, even if the Vault wasn't about indie games, I probably still would not put any AAA game in there ever. Yeah. Sorry about it. I just wouldn't. I think the closest for me would probably be something like Control. I fucking loved Control.
I mean,
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe Last of Us 2. What? Maybe.
Oh.
What was that? What was that?
What was that? Do you want to say that louder?
No.
Braid, did you just say?
Yes, I said Braid. Yeah, or maybe that game I just said. Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But that's, oh God, again, but even for me, it feels icky. Like, no.
Right?
No.
I didn't
disgusting.
have a strong feeling about what the Vault was to me until this question, like, blasted the doors off, and I was suddenly very exposed and worried about its integrity.
Dragon the Time, this is a fantastic question.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah.
It's so good, yeah.
But it almost makes me feel a bit queasy as well, even just to think maybe potentially Peggle, a Frogwares game, and Last of Us 2 would be anywhere near anything that we've
I feel
got.
that Frogwares has been unfairly maligned alongside some very dodgy company here.
Hey, Peggle is good.
I'm talking about Last of Us.
One game is a mediation of violence about two warring factions, and the other is The Last of Us Part 2.
One of these games is not like the others.
It's interesting that you said, Rebecca, about how you were trying to think of like what the Vault means, because that's how I approach this question as well. Like, there's so many AAA games that I absolutely love, but the thought of putting them into the Vault feels like it would desecrate that sacred space.
Yes.
So I was trying to think of like AAA games and AA games that I love that sort of feel like they have an indie mentality. When I say that, I mean that like in the way that they have like idiosyncratic systems or they have a certain vibe to them. So the main one for me is Katamari Damacy. I just feel like Katamari feels like an indie to me.
It does feel very indie.
15 sequels and 4 mobile games
Oh shit!
excluded, I do think the original Katamari is very pure, and the fact that the creator of that is now very firmly an indie creator speaks volumes about that developer's mentality. Another one is Deadly Premonition. Scandal noted. I love Deadly Premonition, and again, I think it fits so firmly in between double A and indie that it would maybe fit within the vault in some ways.
I mean, we've definitely put JJ Macfield forward as a sort of uncontested indie before on the podcast, so you know,
True.
I feel like it's in that it's just like this weird continuum, and where we decide to draw the line on any given day is just so interesting.
Yeah.
It's very honestly, Dragon, like incredible question. And if you said that to try and get Peggle content out of it, well done.
Mission accomplished.
Who's next?
Oh, I think it might be. It's like Christmas morning. Okay, yes, this is a fairly long one, but I love it. Obviously, I'm from Seeker, so they've said, "Hi, big fan since your podcast Redacted days here. Woo! I know there are a couple of fans of the Ace Attorney games on Indieventure, or one fan of the games and one fan of the live action movie. Exact numbers uncertain. Anyway, several lightning round questions. So shall we tackle these one at a time? We got a couple of questions here.
These are for you two. I'm just going to enjoy your answers to this because I have nothing to contribute, but enjoy.
Okay.
So their first question is, if you were to try to introduce a new player to Ace Attorney, what game would you suggest they start with? The first game, despite the fact that the investigation sequences outside the courtroom were kind of bad, with a later sequel or the Great Ace Attorney duology, or with an entirely different game in the genre like Danganronpa. Like, first of all, thank you, Seeker, for just like feeding me exactly what I always want to talk about. That's like so thoughtful of you.
Yes!
They should have said, "Hi, Rebecca." That's how this email should have been titled.
I'm very pleased that at least one person who's listening doesn't find my years-long ability to hyperfixate on a single, like, very small genre incredibly tedious. I do worry that I'm, you know, that my particular brand of neurodivergence must not be very fun for anyone else to listen to. So I'm glad that it's reached at least one person.
Don't be daft.
But
You're neurospicy. You're certain spice.
Yeah, my boss at work, in a very loving way, did refer to my ability to relate everything to like the 6 games I'm obsessed with as like a very female presenting neurodivergence, and I felt very affirmed by that. Anyway, Rachel, do you want to go first, or shall I? Obviously, I have an answer, but I want to know what you think.
I think the second game in the series, Justice for All. I think the first game is fine.
So interesting.
Yeah, I started with the third game and went back to the second. I think you can play the second relatively easily without knowing too much about what goes in the first game. You can just read a Wikipedia page, and it's just like it's near the start that it's like not too confusing, but also the third game is peak, and so you want the run up to that. Yeah. So which is why I think
that's interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna go very rogue with this. I actually think the Great Ace Attorney is a perfect place to start. If you're brand new to the series in 2024, the Great Ace Attorney, because it basically stands alone. You don't need to play. It's a prequel that's set like 120 years before, so you don't need to like know anything about the rest of the series. It's not going to come up in any meaningful way. It's it's like the newest game that's been made in the series is a Great Ace Attorney game, so you have all the benefits of like the modern game development, and I think like visually, stylistically, they found the right balance in those games between the 3D and the like more, you know, cartoonish character art. I think that they trimmed a lot of the fat from having to like jam all these mini games in to make it like to keep innovating it. They sort of like made it hang together the best as a narrative. And like, if you don't know what the hell Ace Attorney is, it's got Sherlock Holmes, who is like a very much a cultural touchstone that like pretty much anyone who plays video games is aware of. So yeah, I actually, because I finished the investigations games lately and now I've played all 10 like main games, I was obviously like, what order would I recommend them in? Thinking about this very recently. I was like, I would say start and end with Great Ace Attorney. That's how good I think this is. It's like start, it's the perfect intro. Play the rest more or less in release order, and then play Great Ace Attorney again and enjoy it as a completely different thing now that you know the context it was made in as, you know, a prequel specifically to these other games.
Interesting answer.
That's
okay.
The second question is, what's the best standalone Ace Attorney case, and why is it definitely Turnabout Reclaimed, the one with all of the orca?
Oh my god, do not talk to me about all of the fucking orca.
Oh no, not a fan.
No, not a fan. No, absolutely not. I don't like the later Ace Attorney games like at all. I mean, just think
that's
really
fair. That is not like
really shit. Like, I honestly so disappointed.
Oh, I
but
get
you know
it,
what?
honestly.
And if anyone's is Turnabout Reclaimed and all of the Orchid, more power to you. I'd rather be in love with something than hate it. So that's on me. What about, do you have something in mind, Rebecca? I have one.
Do actually, because I think that Turnabout Reclaimed is a good shout just because of the way it is very self-contained. It was a DLC to Dual Destinies, and so it kind of acts as something you were meant to go back to a few months after you'd finished the game, I guess, originally.
Mm-hmm.
The one I want to pick, though, is Turnabout Storyteller, because I think that should have been the DLC to Spirit of Justice. I think that it completely kills the pace of the game it's in, but is probably my favourite case from the game it's in. It's only there because they had nothing to do with Athena, and she was just kind of like completely in one case and then dropped out of the game, and I think they realised they needed to give her something to do, so they just give Athena and Simon their own little investigation. And the reason that I love it, aside from the fact that like I really enjoy their interactions and their relationship despite not being that into either character, I think that their best moments are always when they're paired together in some way. But I liked that what I want always from Ace Attorney like follow-up sequel stories is once you've had like the whole very like heightened pseudo-romantic thing between the main attorney and the main prosecutor, when they've like really they've like had it all out, they've worked it all out, and then they always, in all of the other cases, they always go on to like more and more high stakes stuff every single time, whereas this is like such a low stakes goofy, they're just like collaborating on something that's like got personal stakes but isn't like the big world shattering end game. And I just think that's such a fun thing to do with those characters, and if they had made that the DLC case for Spirit of Justice, it would have made so much sense rather than making me play it right in the middle of the whole terrain thing, which wasn't my favorite storyline, but had a real rhythm going. And then they're just like, you want to go spend 5 hours with Simon and Athena? And I was like, I mean, yeah, but why now, guys?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I don't really like the standalone ones at all. I can't really think of one that really appeals to me. I have a favorite like case in general, but I don't think none of the standalone ones are even in like
what's
my
your
top.
favorite case in general though? Like
it has to be Turnabout, Bridge to Turnabout.
Oh, that's a solid one. Yeah.
I think that is the case.
That's right. Yeah, I mean it's like the end of the original trilogy. It's just Trials
and Tribulations, case 5 or 4.
Oh, and of course as a Goddo girly, it's gotta be that for you, right? So
absolutely. I just think that is like Ace Attorney at its peak. Bit of supernatural stuff. Edgeworth being a cutie, Phoenix almost dying, lots of gumshoe, spirituals, ghosty nonsense, one of the best villains in video games, full stop. Like, Dahlia Hawthorne is honestly just Jesus Christ.
Okay.
All four stories amalgamating to one to the very end. Twists, shenanigans. I love it. It's so fucking good. I think for me, that game was so good. That's, I think, all the others. I don't think any of them, maybe the Grace Attorney, but all the other like Phoenix Wright games, I just think they can't hold a candle up to like.
They don't know what to do with
Trials
Phoenix
and Tribulations
post trilogy. Yeah. They don't know what to do.
And
with
I
them.
love Apollo Justice. I fucking love that game, but it's not Trials and Tribulations.
It's not, because they were trying to build something new and then they wimped out. Is all I'll say.
I tell you what, I do like the in Apollo Justice, I do like the second mobster case, where there's a panty snatcher. What the fuck's that about?
Oh my god!
Apollo's trying to save someone from he's like a mob boss's son who's committed a crime, and the mob boss's dad is incredible.
Yeah, the mum is great as well. I love her so much.
A stolen noodle stand. Little Plum, who's this badass. Great. Like, she has the knife in the
knife broom that she keeps like just threatening you. I love her so much.
Oh, Mr. L. Dune, the noodle guy, which is noodle backwards.
Yeah,
so fucking
that is
good.
a great case. You know, a lot of
so
to be fair.
Good. Phoenix almost dies. Phoenix is in hospital.
Classic.
He gets run over by a car.
Classic.
Just love.
I think all of Apollo Justice, actually, is like the middle two cases in particular are actually really good standalone cases. I also like Turnabout Serenade, controversially. I think that's a really fun one.
I love Turnabout Serenade too.
More Clivia content generally, please. So,
more him being a soppy, guitar-loving teenager who's being outshone by Lamois. Oh my god, he's an icon.
I love him
and
so
the
much.
The little kid with the fucking who's blind and he
God, that goes some places, doesn't it? I love that one.
The Gavinish guitarist with the hair who's like in wiggles.
You get that dubious definition of indie and illegal AAA chat ready to go. We have got
already typed it while you were talking.
On this tangent.
All right.
That went exactly how I expected.
Yes. That was really
good,
fun.
Good, well-formed answers that very quickly devolved into shouting at each other.
Yeah, thank you, Seeker.
This is exactly there is a DM thread with just me and Rachel on it, and that is the vibe of the entire thing. Every couple of weeks, one of us reopens it with like a meme, and then we just shout at each other for 2 hours very excitedly, and then
I love that. It made me very happy that Seeker sent that in.
Yes, thank you so much, Seeker. Genuinely, that was very, very fun.
A question for you, Sue, and I'm very happy to have listened to that. I don't even know what the hell you were talking about for half of it, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Right, next question.
Yeah, go on. Let's bring it back.
Rachel.
This is from Simon. Is this our Simon? Simon.
Our Simon. Yeah, it's Simon.
Our Simon. What's the biggest game-related creative project you've ever done outside of the podcast? For example, creating something elaborate in a game like Minecraft or The Sims, making mods, or maybe even drawing fan art. Love that for Simon. Thank you, Simon. What about you two? I can't really... I mean, I'm working on something right now which I can't talk about, but it's a very big creative project that maybe I'll be able to talk about in the future.
I can't wait for us to talk about that, but yeah.
But probably this podcast, this is the biggest creative... I literally said at the beginning of the episode, right? Like, this is the biggest creative thing I do. Like, I love it so much. I was never one for... I played Minecraft and The Sims and all that, but I never went absolutely to town on anything. But how about you guys?
So, this is definitely the most important gaming related creative project I've ever done. I guess the biggest would be I started a website in 2011 after my first year of uni called Gamer Nation. I ran that for a long time. It was just a classic reviews, previews, news website. I then created a YouTube channel to support that. I then put more of my focus in the YouTube channel. I then renamed that YouTube channel 7 out of 10. And that led me all the way up to RPS, basically. It got me my full-time job. That was a very important project for me for a long time, just because it was such a fun outlet. It was my first ever experience getting things like review codes and, feeling sort of like a part of the industry. And I lost my mind during the pandemic, and alongside making 3 videos a day for Push Square on a freelance basis, I made a video a week for 7 out of 10 and worked a full-time job.
Oh.
So thanks, pandemic, for breaking me.
Oh my God.
But yeah, all of my videos are still up there if you ever wanted to check them out. I don't really do anything on that channel anymore, but there's lots of like indie reviews and stuff on there, so you can see the thread that led me to this, I think, in that channel. But yeah, what about you, Rebecca?
I should say, I mean, again, it's getting a bit repetitive at this point, but yeah, this is definitely the most visible and the most public and the most like long-term and consistent creative project around games that I've ever done. Definitely, for sure. I was thinking about like the Indie Cup jurying thing is like another very big project, but I don't know how, like, I mean, I think there's always a level of creativity in like that selection, but it's not really like, it's not really like anything that we've created, I guess. Thinking like, I have written some deeply, I can't draw for anything. Like, yeah, I know everyone can draw. I can't, just trust me. I would if I could.
God, then before Liam said it. Everyone can draw, Rebecca.
Yeah. I have dabbled in fan fiction in the past, which has included like video game fan fiction a lot. Also, I've done, as Simon mentioned, The Sims. I have done a lot of like Sims creation projects. Like this is all stuff that's mainly for me. It's not, it's not to go anywhere, but it's,
I think that still counts.
It's just for my own amusement. I love character creation in The Sims, so I spend a lot of time making characters especially from other games and like a lot of indie games and a lot of like other games that I love. I've made I remember once when I was off sick from work, it was years ago, and I can't remember what was wrong, but it was definitely like I actually had to go to the doctor that morning, sort of off sick, and then I just had like 8 hours while my partner was at work, and I just sort of sat down with Sims and then looked up 8 hours later, having created the entire cast of Until Dawn incredibly faithfully.
Oh my God.
Sims. And I still
So
use those
good.
Sims. This was years ago. I still use
that.
those Sims because they look great, because I just had this whole day to just sit and like obsess over it. But I guess I did a personal gaming blog for a while, similar to how you were saying that it was really my sort of getting a toehold in this industry was just doing this personal blog that maybe I think my best performing post was like 63 views. It was not a big thing, but it was something that I did like 2-3 times a week for the year or so leading up to first starting to freelance for Eurogamer. And that was just, it was a fun thing to do while I was just testing the waters to see if this was something I could really do professionally.
You did a post on that blog about, was it the history of queer gaming?
I did, yeah.
That post is so fucking good though. Like,
You?
I don't know how I ever read that. Maybe you sent it to me.
I think I did send it to you someone at some point.
Yeah, that rings a bell with me as well. I feel like you might have sent it to us.
I think it came up in a conversation
so
at RPS because there was a question that I was like, I know where the answer is for this because I found it and wrote about it and like put it on my blog years ago.
That might be it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed,
I
did stuff like that. There was very much like proto the kind of episodes that I now pitch when we're looking at what to do on Indieventure. So that kind of makes a lot of sense.
That is interesting that you say that, because I feel like a lot of what I used to do for 7 out of 10, I now want to do in this format. Like I enjoy doing it here way more than I ever did in video form. So I feel like it's just funneled into this now of like, oh, I want to do this idea. Like I'll do it here, which is nice. But yeah, really good question, Simon.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
That was really fun.
Thank you, Simon.
A trip down memory lane. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's good. All right, we've got 2 more. I've got one here, and then we'll get to the deranged one.
Okay.
So, second from last, hi Indieventure, y'all are the highlight of my month. I really enjoy listening to the podcast and the laughs it always brings. I really do love all of you. So nice to see you. The question though, do you have any favourite games on the 3DS? I really like that console's portability and pocketability, and I will often carry it with me on long bus rides, etc. And that's from Cesar Hernandez via email.
That is so
Thank you,
sweet,
Caesar.
Thank you.
Very
Such
sweet.
Really genuinely
good
like a little
email.
bit over here.
Yeah. Thank you. It's really nice. It's always very odd to me when people are like, I love listening to you, like the highlight of my week. I'm like, what? Us?
Oh, are you sure?
Me?
Thank you.
Meth Brain Week Clap Chat is the highlight of your month.
Oh, thank you.
It's so sweet. Can I go first on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
I loved my 3DS. I absolutely adored it. I bought my first one when I started my first job out of uni. I used to have a 45-minute commute from Manchester to a little town outside of it called Macclesfield, where the digital agency I worked for was located. And all I did was play my 3DS there and back every single day for the best part of 2 years. What a little system. And I was thinking when you asked this question, Caesar, that mine was like a little indie machine at the time before I bought a Vita, and that sort of succeeded it. So I played things like Steamworld Heist on the 3DS for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Which is wild to think. I think it launched on the 3DS. And Nintendo had their Nindies program, I think, at the time with the 3DS and the Wii U, but we don't talk about that. So I played Steamworld Heist, and I played so much of a game called Gunman Clive. I don't know whether you know Gunman Clive and its sequel, Gunman Clive 2. It was like a really lo-fi, like side-scrolling shooter where you played a little cowboy. I assume the titular Clive. But that was such a fun little time waster. Just you pop up in your 3DS, play a bit, and then close it again. But my favourite games on the 3DS, when I really think about it, is the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask Zelda remakes are sensational. Really, really great. It's very Nintendo of them that they made these 2 great remakes and were like, nah, we'll just never do anything else with these ever again.
Oh God, Nintendo.
Yeah, you're never playing them anymore. Fuck you, I guess. And I played more of Animal Crossing New Leaf than I did New Horizons. I loved New Leaf so much. And I will be revisiting my 3DS in our hyperfixations section.
Intriguing.
Yeah, what about you two? Do you have any history with the 3DS?
I do, actually. I have a very, very specific history with the 3DS, which is that I got a 3DS actually in 2019. I got a 3DS for the first time because I really wanted, there were some games that I really wanted to play on it. I'd never had one before. And I was like, you know what? In 2020, I've got so many things planned. I need I don't want to take my Switch everywhere. I need like a little portable. Yeah, no, this is great, right? This is where this is going. Is that I had so much planned for 2020, and I was like, so in my family, because I'm from a really big family, we do like a Secret Santa. So everyone gets like basically the one kind of bigger present they want. And I asked for a 3DS that year, and anonymous relative who remains anonymous to this day, like very kindly got me like the lovely
That's nice.
Like turquoisey metallic-y one that I thought was really cute.
Oh, that was lovely.
And I've only ever played like 3 games on it because I'm just very slowly working my way through stuff because it is still my out and about game system. And obviously now I work from home and I've only really just started traveling again. But actually specifically the 2 games I really wanted it for were Detective Pikachu, which I'm playing now at the moment. That's my out and about game at the moment. But I also did play, and this is, considering the chat we had earlier, this is serendipitous. There is a Frogwares game, a spin-off from the Sherlock Holmes series, which is Sherlock Holmes and the Mystery of the Frozen City. And honestly, Rachel, like, it would be your thing. It is so great, Ace Attorney. It is so great, Ace Attorney. It's so good.
I do like the Frogwares Sherlock Holmes games.
Frogwares do like they did a load of weird spin-offs from the main Sherlock Holmes series, and this is like a very anime-esque like. It's very cute, and I played it, and I really did love it. It was definitely in a very different context to how I thought I was going to play it, because I thought that I was going to be jet setting around the world, and I was mostly in my living room, but it was still like.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun, and it was the last game that I needed to like complete the entire Frogwares Sherlock Holmes set. So I was very happy.
Hell yeah!
Nice.
Oh my god!
And I would recommend it. It's genuinely a very fun game, a very fun like point and click detective game on the 3DS. It's really satisfying to play. The mystery's pretty cool. Yeah, that's my cursed 3DS story. Is that did I break the world by being so cocky as to assume that I get to do things in 2020?
Thanks, Nintendo.
That's because I got it secondhand from CEX. They're just like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Not for you.
God. What about you, Rachel?
God, I love the 3DS. Me and friend of the podcast, Henry, like, we were friends, but then I feel like the 3DS and our love for it blossomed our friendship into something a little bit more when we were 18.
Aww.
I think I've said this on the podcast before. We were so obsessed with the 3DS.
You've told this story, but I love it.
Yeah.
When
we would print off 3DSs onto bits of paper in the library, fold the paper in half, and then put them in the CD disk drives of all the computers in the library. So when people were opening the disc tray, a little 3DS would pop out. Like we were very into 3DS. So, but my favorite games for it were Nintendogs and Cats. I fucking love the Nintendog series on 3DS. It's just, oh God, I've been a fan of Nintendo since the DS launch, so of course I was going to get the ones with cats.
Hell yeah.
I loved Animal Crossing New Leaf. Loved Rhythm Heaven, or one of the Rhythm Heaven games. That was a
the
really
Megamix
good,
or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Megamix. That was a really good game. Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, obviously loved that. But the one that I'm going to recommend, and I think this was a 3DS release, is a game called Severed, which I think you can now play on the Switch, but I remember it very vividly being on the 3DS, maybe the DS.
3DS, yep. 3DS,
so it is an indie game because it's made by the same people that made Guacamelee, and it's this really cool. I never finished it. This really cool kind of like gory world where you play as a young woman who I think her arm is like. The idea is you're facing loads of really weird like monsters, and you can like slice them when you touch the screen, and it's just really cool. It's a really great indie. I don't even, isn't the eishop closed now? So I don't even know if you
the
can
3DS eShop is closed. You need to go and get your like secondhand cartridges to play 3DS games.
This is the thing. I don't even think this is a cartridge. This was not a cartridge game. It was an
if you
oh, hello.
By nefarious means, it's very, very easy to hack your 3DS.
Yes, it is.
It took me about 15 minutes the other week. Someone has just made a fake eShop that you can put on your 3DS once you hack it and download any game that was on there. So
hell yeah.
As an archivist project, ignoring the dubious legality of it, you can get the downloadable games that were exclusive that are no longer accessible. You can still get them on your 3DS.
I mean,
incredible.
Is it really piracy if they won't take your money for it?
That's literally that is my definition of when I will start to pirate
Yeah.
things, as if there's no legal means of getting it. Yeah.
So if Severed is actually available on the Switch, and currently I'm just looking it up for £3, so there's always that. But I'm not sure how that works because of I don't know.
You need
but anyway,
the touchscreen for it.
Yeah, I think you need the
Yeah, I
touchscreen.
agree.
So do what you need to do and then just buy it on the Switch and then just give the money that way. But yeah, I remember that one being like an indie recommendation being really, really good. But, Nintendogs. What else? I mean,
Yeah.
Nintendogs was the one. The game for me, the launch game for me was Nintendogs and Cats.
Would you put Nintendogs and Cats in the vault?
You know what?
I genuinely didn't think about that.
I'm watching someone's life change before my eyes.
The thing
Yeah,
is,
me
and
too.
I've talked about this before, there's no other games that have done that format. Like, where are the cute animal games? Like, where are they? Where are they? There was one for Switch and it was garbage because I remember paying £40 and you can't refund games on the Switch being like, oh, okay, this is going to be the same. But it wasn't. It was shit. It was awful. Like, where are they? I'm going to make my own.
Yeah,
I literally have to make my own. A puppy adoption sim in which I get to wash the puppy and take the puppy on walks and play frisbee with it.
Genuine
where are they?
Question. Did it roll back into the Tamagotchi resurgence? Is that where it's gone?
Oh, there's definitely, there's a Tamagotchi resurgence totally happening right now. So do I have to wait another 20 years then for the Tamagotchi and the Nintendo dogs and cats? Because where are they? Seriously, I honestly thought the genre would be like Nintendogs.
The sad
Game.
reality is they'll all be on mobile. They'll all be
That's a good point, actually. There's going to be
ad-riddled
so much on mobile.
games on mobile.
Oh.
Yeah, that's where they'll be.
This is the one for Switch that I paid £40 for and it was shit. It was called Little Friends, Dogs and Cats, Nintendo Switch. And it was so awful. And I remember being like, I'm never, and that, you know me, I never buy any sort of indie game, anything other than an indie game is wild. Anything above £15, I'm never doing it. This is the one time I did it. And I'm still angry about it, if you can't tell. I'm still annoyed about it.
I feel like on a previous episode, you asked this question, where are all the Nintendogs games? And I said, I think I remember this one coming out on Switch. And I named that game. And I think you very politely bit your tongue and went, oh, that sounds interesting. I didn't realize you'd paid unless you did say this story. But I feel
don't know. I think I'm so annoyed about it. I'd be surprised if I said, oh, that looks interesting because...
I didn't.
Oh,
you didn't buy it after I recommended it, did you?
No, I didn't. Because I remember,
thank God.
I remember seeing it and being like, right, I'm gonna buy that. Like, this is like Nintendo's new Nintendogs, and it was terrible. It was awful.
Oh, how interesting.
So,
well, a great question, Caesar. Thank you for that.
Yes,
Thank
love
you.
that.
That was
Love.
great
We don't
fun.
get many opportunities to talk about older hardware on this podcast, so it's nice to have a question about that.
Yeah.
Right, time for the final
God.
question.
Oh my God.
A preface for this: I
Okay.
had to spend a not insubstantial amount of time today trying to work out how old the man from Braid is before I can ask this question. So,
Okay.
Tim the Terrible Boy is not a boy. I have realized after much Googling and much discussion online that he is a man
Okay.
because of the story that occurs in Braid. So, this is the question from David on the Discord, not our Discord.
Okay.
Fuck, marry, kill.
No. Please.
Tim the Terrible Boy, man, for legal reasons. Beyond the Unicorn
No.
and Harold Halibut.
No.
Yeah, okay. I actually know. Yeah.
You immediately know.
Yeah.
Okay, go. Who is
Okay.
it?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, okay. Fuck Bjorn, marry Harold, kill Tim.
Interesting.
Not even a question for me.
Marry Harold.
Yeah, he seems nice. He's a nice guy. I don't want to live in that janitor's closet, but you know what? We'll work it out. Where does Bjorn live?
What's Bjorn's business, Liam?
Yeah.
Like, what does he do?
He's the leader of Peggle Academy. We've gone over there.
He's what? He's the what?
Leader
He lives
of Peggle
there.
Academy.
Leader.
Yeah, he lives there. He's got a nice armchair.
So you're telling me he has his own like kind of militia situation going? Peggle militia.
I guess the Peggle machine is a tool of war.
He's got a career. He's a career.
He's a
unicorn.
career unicorn. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a teacher. He's a scholar.
I'd like to caveat as well that I will carry on calling Tim a boy because even when someone's a man, you can call them a boy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're a little boy.
I like that.
Tim the Terrible
You're a little
Boy is
boy.
his name.
Little boy, sit down, little boy.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
how I'm referring to Tim.
Yes.
As like a,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up, little boy. Okay, so
He's not earned Tim the Terrible Man yet. He hasn't earned it.
my immediate gut is to kill Tim immediately. Just like absolutely point blank. So then it has to be, what was it? Marry, and what was the other one?
Fuck.
Avoid. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. That's just Rachel reacting to this question.
Fucking Harold would literally be like, you know that bit in the In-Betweeners where he's like a straight, straight, and he's just like fish wiggling on top of her. That's how I imagine Harold would fuck. Does Harold fuck? I don't think he does.
I don't know. I've not finished the game yet. You have. You tell me.
Harold apologizes constantly, is my vibe of Harold.
Oh, he'd be like,
bedroom.
oh my God. He'd do it in the unsexy way of like, do you like that? Do you like that? And not in like a checking in, but as in like, Harold, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up.
See, you're really reinforcing my views on Bjorn here, because I'm like, maybe it's my medievalist side showing, but I'm like, yeah, unicorns are into women. I mean, I may have missed the boat on the specific criteria that unicorns tend to prefer, but Bjorn has a militia. We've established this. He has like a castle or an academy or something. Like, I'm living the good life. I mean, that is quite
Bjorn.
tempting. That is quite tempting.
And I just have to fuck Harold, and then that's over. That's done with. And then Bjorn can take care of me. Do I like Peggle now?
Is this it? Is this how we get Peggle in the vault? Is you imagining being married to Bjorn?
I just feel like Bjorn, he has the money, he has the power, the authority. Like, I think that's my answer then. I'd fuck Harold and then I would marry Bjorn. But if you're lying to us about this academy, like I'm thinking, like I've got like a massive
catfish Rachel with your claims of what Bjorn has.
Because the academy I have in my head is like a castle. Like, I don't want no like community center like academy. I'm thinking I don't want big brain academy. I want okay, let's see what this Peggle Academy looks like actually.
Oh, I need to get ahead of this. I don't know if you ever see Peggle Academy, but I don't think you ever do.
This changes a lot. He needs to brush his hair. Bjorn needs to brush his hair. Like, that is something that I just can't get over as well.
In some pictures, Bjorn's hair is more ironed than it is in
yeah. I think I'll stick with my answer though.
It's a good answer.
I'm not living on a space station in a janitor closet.
Yeah, that's reasonable. That is a concern for me. But ultimately, he's a baby girl. I'll marry a baby girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
He's harmless. But also, you're on that space station for a long time. Every day.
But I do enjoy aquariums. So, you know.
But what about being stuck in one for the rest of your life?
I mean, it's pretty big.
With the cast of Harold Halibut.
Yeah, it's a good point, but you know, we are constrained by the limits of our situation here. Anyway, what about you, Liam?
Yeah, Liam, come on.
You don't get away with this.
I was hoping honestly we'd move on.
No.
I honestly don't know what to do with this. Marry Bjorn immediately because I love Bjorn, I love Peggle. I can't explain it, but I know Bjorn fucks like a champ, and I just think being married to Bjorn for the rest of my life would be a net benefit for me as a person. Harold is, I do not want, there'd be no pleasure derided from having sex with Harold Halibut. I just know that in my heart.
It's more like a obligation at this point, a part of the rules. Yeah.
I feel like he gets so clingy to me, and I don't want to marry him because I just think he's terribly boring. Tim.
It's worrying me that you're not immediately killing Tim.
Right?
I feel.
How is this a question?
I know, right? Because I feel like Tim.
What are you doing
terrible.
Right now?
I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm working this out in real time.
Okay.
Just all like getting very tense, like sweat.
I hate his little blazer.
Say the thing. Say the thing everyone needs you to say.
But is there not something to a
Are you about to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you going to say? Say it with your chest.
Yeah, go on. I won't interrupt you.
I sort of feel like maybe it's Liam, it's so easy to just say kill Tim. You don't have to do this. This goes out publicly.
So what's holding you back, babes?
I don't know. I just sort of feel like
Yeah.
I can't even say
just tell me.
I'd rather say my darkest secret than say this next bit out loud.
Would you fuck Tim, the terrible boy?
would you hate fuck Tim, the terrible boy? That's the question that everybody's asking
fucking
right now.
That's sort of where I'm at with this. I think I'd sort of rather hate fuck Tim than have sex with Harold Halibut.
You know what? It's not as bad when you said it out loud, right? It's still bad, but it's not as bad as we thought it would be before we heard it out loud.
What does this say about you? What does this say?
Terrible things, because he will treat me terribly, and I know for a fact that if me and Tim are having sex, only one of us is finishing, and it ain't me, because that's just the vibe he gives off as a person. But
So fair.
I don't know what this says about me.
You know what it says about you? All the Hayley Stardew Valley girlies are on your team.
Yeah.
There's a chorus of Hayley stans who are like, yes, mean hate fucking is fun, actually. There you go. You and your
move
army
on?
of Hayley stans.
Holy shit. What has happened to us?
I don't like David. You're banned from listening to the podcast. Blocking your IP address, David. Oh, I hate
love
this.
I like
Right, well-
David. David can stay.
Let's move on.
This was great fun.
Thanks, everyone. What a way to end our first year then with both of my...
Woo!
Can I just say, both of these two leant forward there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
we
towards
did.
their webcam during
I
that.
was fully on my desk, like
Yeah,
staring into the
don't do
webcam,
this.
like I need this to resolve
Begging me.
itself.
Oh,
Not to
God.
be cancelled. Right. I hate that. I hate what it reveals about me. Shall we move on to our new section?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Much to think about.
So funny. We just had an email in from Jonathan at Blow saying,
Jonathan at Blow.
Oh my god.
John.blow at thewitness.com.
Yahoo.org.
Yes,
Right.
okay. Yeah. Section.
This is
dos.
what we've been playing, where we talk about what we've been playing, because there's too many games and we're getting up to the end of the year and we're going to chat about some things we've been playing. I feel like I have to no longer be queer after saying that about Tim. I feel like I've given away my bisexuality by saying that.
I think it makes you more queer.
Interesting.
I think it makes you more. I think that take, it's so easy to be like, yeah, gross, kill him. But for you to consider it, now
Yeah, no, that's
that's the
powerful.
fringe. That's the fringes we're working in here.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? Weirdly, Rachel, that's the most validating thing anyone's ever said about my sexuality. I feel seen in a way I never have.
You've unlocked a new level.
Oh yes.
Oh, this is
We're
it now.
like we're just dancing on the top. You're deep sea diving.
Yeah.
Like you're just gone.
Right. So, yes. What have we been playing? Who would like to go first?
Oh God.
Who was alive?
None of us after that.
I know. I'm reeling, honestly.
I'll go first.
Yeah,
Yes.
go on.
First.
Go on.
So, I've been playing UFO 50 by
Ooh.
Mossmouth. Mossmouth, the company that is led primarily by Derek Yu from Spelunky fame, but the game also was worked on by a bunch of different developers, creators of games such as Downwell, Time Barons, Madhouse, and Catacomb Kids. I was very interested in this. I have seen it pop up in lots of different places over the years. I didn't realize until today that it was announced in 2017 and came out this year. So this has been a long in production project. If you don't know what UFO 50 is, it is a collection of 50 games, not mini games. These are all full games in their own right, and they are
Wild.
all stylized. Well, the fiction of the game is that this is a collection of 50 titles that were created for a non-existent console that was in production from 1982 to 1989. And the 50 games chart the history of this console over that period of time. Interestingly, I learned today that the 8-year development time of the game ended up coincidentally matching the time frame spanning the game's fictional release dates.
That's really cool.
Which is quite an interesting little thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kismet. It's so fun.
So all of these games, when you boot the game up, it shows you 50 game cartridges covered in dust, and you pick a game cartridge, it blows the dust off, which is a very nice touch, and then it boots you into the game. And the games are all built within the constraints of games that would be released at that period of time on a home console. So they're all in chronological order when you first boot it up. So the first handful of games are all very rudimentary. They are stylized that the developers were working within, or just learning the hardware, and they get more sophisticated as you work through it. I've had a real roller coaster of an experience with this game, and I will talk through it a little bit. I did not grow up with games from the 80s, being born in 92. The majority of games I grew up with were games from the 90s, so that I don't really have an affinity for games from the NES era. And it's not a platform of games I will go back to and revisit. Like, I might play the original Super Mario Brothers. I'm not like getting into the weeds of the NES catalog because in general, I find it to be quite tiresome. So when I played the first few games of Euro 450, the first game's called Barbuta, where you play like a little knight in an egg. I was like, I hate this. I don't like this at all. I cannot get away with this. You know, it's very rudimentary. There's very limited inputs. I'm not enjoying this whatsoever. It's so difficult. But as I started to dig into it, and as the game started to get a little bit more sophisticated and graphically a little bit nicer to look at, I guess, which is no shade on Barbuda. It's just, again, it's a personal preference. I just don't really like games from that era. I started to realize that this is one of the wildest projects I've ever experienced. The way that they've developed these games with such specific constraints and stuck to it is incredible, because it's let them make really mechanically pure and inventive games in a way where every like second game, I'm just sat there thinking, this is so smart and so interesting. I can't believe this isn't a full game on Steam by itself. The fact it's one of 50 is wild. So here's just a few games I've really enjoyed so far. I've played about 4 hours. I'm not that far through the game. I think I've only played 14 games. The first is Magic Garden, which is basically the game Snake from your mobile phone back in the 90s. You are a little witch and you are picking up little blobs. You've got to move them into a scoring zone, and it's just a score attack game. It's so clever. It's so much fun. The next one is Devolution, where you're trying to save villages by placing down exploding monsters to kill demons, and you have to set off chain reactions. One of the smartest puzzle games I've played in a long time. Next is Kick Club, where you're a little footballer and you've got to kill enemies in platforming levels, but you can only kick like up and at an angle, which makes it a really interesting game about spatial awareness. And you've got to collect your football to kick again. Again, it's brilliant. Avianos, which is just Civilization, but you play as dinosaurs, and each round you pray to a different dinosaur god to get different moves. So you can only move or create resources by praying to different gods. Again, incredible. Mooncat, which is a game with one of the most unique control schemes I've ever seen. That's all about just understanding how you manipulate the world and move this character because it's so idiosyncratic. Absolutely obsessed. Played that for like an hour the other day.
What?
And the last one is Pilot Quest. I was recommended by an Aftermath article to start on Pilot Quest. It's the 44th game in the collection. It's an idle game where creatures in that game gather resources as you're playing other games in UFO 50. So it's worth doing that first and then dipping back into it as you're moving between games. So this has ended up feeling very special to me. I'm really enjoying it. I am going to keep at it because it's like a little treat every time I pick it up and just decide to play the next game or go back and play a little bit of something else for half an hour before I start work. The only thing I think that is stopping it from feeling like an absolute masterpiece, maybe, and maybe my opinion will change on this, is I think because the framing of it is about this fictional console, I maybe expected that to be a bigger part of the game than it actually is. There's like maybe a paragraph about what the game's history is or who made it or why it was special in the fiction of the game. but that's hidden behind a menu, and most of the time, no shade, it's not very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wondered as well if maybe, and this is maybe an unfair expectation, I wondered if maybe it had a meta level running through it. Like maybe
Yeah.
there was some kind of game within the game. And maybe there is, but nothing I've found so far. And this is such like a babyish like thing to say I don't like about it, because it is an absolutely incredible collection of really smart games made by smart people within constraints that they didn't have to do, but they flourished within.
Yeah.
I think this might be one of the best indie games purely because of what it is and what it's doing. I think there's nothing more indie than just saying, fuck it, let's make 50 games like they were from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I don't think it's had like a sensational launch. I haven't seen many people talk about it. It's got not as many reviews on Steam as I'd expect from a game made by the creator of Spelunky.
Yeah.
But yeah, UFO 50, it's pure magic, and I would really recommend everyone plays it.
Shit. So are all the games unlocked already? You can just jump into any of them.
Any. Yeah. So it's just like when you're a kid and you get one of those Game Boy cartridges that has
Yes.
a bunch of games on them. Yeah, it's just like that.
See, I had like kind of panned this one off just because I thought they were a bit more arcadey, and I was like, I don't know if I can really want to play 50 like old school arcade games, but like you have absolutely sold me on it. And I just like, I hadn't even seen the trailer, so I looked at the trailer as you were talking, and it looks so good. I'm going to play this, absolutely. I don't know why I just overlooked it. I think maybe because I don't get along well with like I said, like old school stuff, because I was like, But that is so cool. And I've heard people in the thinky space talking about it, because there's like a thinky category of like specific like puzzle games that are supposed to be like logic-y.
There's a full classic point-and-click adventure in there, Rebecca, as well.
Oh, cool. I mean, again, this is, as with Rachel, this is one of the ones that I kind of like put into my, knowing that I won't have time to play everything that has kind of crossed my path pile this year. It was like, oh, it's maybe not such a me thing, but that does sound more intriguing than I was maybe giving it credit for, especially if, as you say, there's like a lot of genre diversity in there. That's really cool.
Perfect for the deck. That's what I'm thinking as well. I'm looking at this, I'm like,
that's what I'm
Steam
playing
Deck.
it on. It's Steam Deck magic. What I won't recommend is trying to play it while your partner is watching the Big Brother first episode, because that is not the right environment to be playing Magic Garden and UFO 50.
So funny.
Yeah, it's good. I do watch this space, because maybe this will come back up in one of the last episodes of the year. I'm not sure. But
very interesting.
I've flipped on it so much. But I've spoken too long about UFO 50, so please, one of you, tell me, what have you been playing?
Rebecca, why don't you go next?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned in the last episode, I've been dying to dig into some short indies since I finished some very, very big AAA projects that I was doing through work and through other things. So I've played the two latest Dev Cats games that both came out fairly recently. I've played Park Full of Cats and Stray Cats in Cozy Town, both of which were like lovely Dev Cats experiences, as we know. I've also been playing a lot of Slice and Dice, one that Liam recommended in the last episode. I'd never heard of it. It's my new obsession on mobile. And I think it's also quite recently got a Steam release. So
yes,
people
it has.
are
I noticed that after the
Steam,
episode.
it's now on there. There are two I want to talk about, though, and I'll try and keep it brief because like I don't have a huge amount to say about one of them. One is that I watched to stream rather than played, actually, of Mouthwashing, which is a horror game that's gone viral recently.
Guess which one I'm going to be talking about in just a few minutes.
Well, that's really interesting. I will leave that one to you then quite gladly, because I will say I intend to buy it because I really want to support the devs. I don't know if I'll ever be able to play it myself, having seen it all the way through, but I genuinely, it might end up on my Game of the Year list very easily. I think it could well be top 5 for me. And I'm not usually into body horror, which is why I might struggle to play it. But it is, with a couple of small fumbles, I think a very, very good game. But since I'm really glad you've got that one covered, because now I can move on to the other game that I've actually been playing a lot on my Steam Deck over the last few days, which is the Crush House. Which is
I saw that you played
a game that we got code for when it launched back in August. I loaded it up on my Steam Deck and took it to Yorkshire when we all went to hang out for a few days.
Oh yeah.
And I never, just like life happened so fast, I literally managed to start playing it on about the 6th or 7th of October. That's just how much life has hit in the last couple of months. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of, it is what I wanted from this experience. I enjoyed the demo a lot at Next Fest a few months ago. I just like the concept is very me. Obviously, it's got like dating sim and life sim, but like a sort of creative twist on both genres. It looks really fun. You know, it's like a Devolver game. It's got that very pastellated and very like bright and cheerful kind of like romantic, but like overdone in that sense look to it. There are a few things that I kind of have complaints about within the game. To the point where it's like I'm liking it. It's like it's a very me game and I'm enjoying it a lot, but I don't think it's going to end up on my, you know, like top games of the year list just because there are like frustrations inherent in it. The main one of which, surprisingly, is that the economy in this game is so broken. And I'm just like, it's difficult. So I'm playing it on, there's three modes. There's, you know, like this easy, normal, and hard. I'm playing it on normal mode, which usually, as we know, I am an advocate for easy mode. But I'm like, this is a management sim inherently. This is what I do. I should be able to, and I can see how I should be able to play this on normal mode. But the economy is super broken and it's making it very hard to progress. And that's kind of like, I don't really get the justification for that within the rest of the game. I feel like it could go easier on you in terms of like how you're making ad revenue to buy the things you like. I needed to buy a watering can for this house. Watering can's $700. I'm like, that is about 3 days worth of ad revenue. So that's all I can buy this week. Your money doesn't carry over into subsequent weeks. Every time you start a new week, you have to redo the tutorial. It's just like little things like this where I'm like, this game, I do really enjoy it because it does so much that is so specifically for me. But I can kind of get why if you were a little bit agnostic to this genre, you would potentially drop off it. But I'm going to finish it because like I love these characters. They're all it reminds me actually of another game I was really excited for a year or two ago called Validate, which had a very similar approach to the way it introduced characters into a dating sim. But it kind of mechanically, it wasn't doing anything particularly special when it came out, and it kind of didn't set the world on fire, despite the fact that they did a great job of marketing on social media ahead of launch. It just kind of like fell off when it did launch. So this has got vibes of that. I think when compared it to the singles games from the early 2000s, before the sort of like Sims-esque games that came out about 20 years ago, it's doing a lot that's so great, and I feel like it falls short of perfection in a couple of very specific but very like frustrating areas. But there is that whole creepy like conspiracy, what's the real meta story behind the story thing going on, and I need to know that. And because it's me, I also need to make sure I get everyone's like secret ending as well, which I've only got like 2 or 3 so far of the 12. So I'm absolutely going to keep playing it. But weirdly, of the 2 sort of major games that I've played over the last couple of weeks, Mouthwashing has emerged as a way stronger contender for one of my favorites of the year, which I was not expecting at all. So.
Well, perfect to go straight into you talking about mouthwashing then, Rachel.
Yeah, I saw, again, someone I follow on Twitter was talking about mouthwashing and said, this is a great game. And I was like, well, I will follow whatever this person is playing. I played mouthwashing maybe in 2 sittings. You can easily do it in 1. It is 100% going to be my top 5 of the year. This game has blown me out of the water. It is a fantastic horror game. Incredible storytelling. It's harrowing. It's everything I want out of a sci-fi game which doesn't rely on tropes and mostly like kind of focuses on the more isolation aspects of horror, and there's some aspects of body horror in it as well. I've been absolutely blown away by mouthwashing. So the story is that you are one of several members on a spaceship who they're delivering a bunch of packages. They are a delivery service. They work under a corporation. That corporation then drops them. The corporation goes under, and they're all left jobless on this spaceship, completely abandoned and unable to reach their destination. And so the crew, who have been traveling together for like maybe half a year at this point, are starving, are isolated, and it just tells the story of what happens to this crew, like psychologically what happens to them, and the fact that when they run out of food, they start to dip into their supply of mouthwash. That's the packages they're delivering are just like boxes and boxes of mouthwash, and so when they run out of food, they start drinking the mouthwash. And yeah, it's unbelievably brutal. It's looks at the horrors of working at a minimum wage job under a big corporation. There's like existential dread throughout this game. Each individual person, a character is just really interesting. There's this, like, one of the crew members is very, very badly injured. They have loads of burns over their body. And so they're just, throughout the whole game, they're just this almost corpse-like figure in the station's nursing doctor bit. And they're just covered in bandages with this, like, eye just staring at you. Like, this person that is still a person, but just, like, barely a person at this point. Like, they can't talk or anything. And like what the crew decide to do about that. And it's fucking fantastic. This game is incredible. Some people have maybe said that there's not a lot of gameplay in it. That is true. It's not exactly like an interactive movie. I wouldn't be that harsh, but I like the kind of horror games where I'm kind of pulled through the story. I don't have to sneak around. I don't have to like shooty all the bad monsters. This game has certain sections, but they're done so artistically and well done that I never felt that it was done like in traditional horror sense. It's very surreal. There's very evocative imagery in this game. And yeah, I'm absolutely in love with it. I've played a couple of horror games this year. Crow Country was amazing. Run, a horror gardening sim, came out. These lo-fi horror games are just absolutely like, it's their year. But this is the best one. Mouthwashing is the best game. It's incredible. It's definitely, like I said, in my top 5. My God, like I was like some of the characters and what they go through in this game, I was like reflecting on my own situation. There's one person in particular who's like, I'm really good at my job and I've been here and people tell me I'm good at my job, but like, I want more. Like, should I just leave? Like, should I just like, what do I do with that? And I was like,
yes.
Like if you've seen our industry right now, if you know anything about what's going on in the journalism space or just game media space, like it's just, this game has a way of like talking broadly, but very, in a way that feels so specific to your own circumstance. And I just, I love it.
Hard.
I just think it's a really good game. Yeah. I love this game. And normally horror for me, it wouldn't normally be this high. Like I like horror games, but like this is really fucking good.
But it's so character-led. But like, I think it's the most character-led indie horror that maybe I've ever seen. And I've over the last few years, I found some indie horrors that I'm like, I love this because it's doing the character-led thing that I really enjoy. But I was really surprised because like I became aware of this game through the fact that everyone was suddenly streaming it, right? And I was like, so it's going to be a very streamer bait game. And it's really not. It just is a testament to how good it is that everyone picked it up, even if it's not the sort of thing that like they would usually necessarily do on their streams. Because it is so character-led. It is very much like, if you think about like, I guess the original Alien is one that comes to mind, but a lot of that like space isolation horror. I wasn't expecting it to be like on a spaceship at all based on what I initially saw. And like the title is so odd. It's such an odd thing to focus on. And there's just all of that really like, I don't know, it's got those really good retro vibes, both because of the way that the genre plays out and because of like the way it looks. Like the character models look like how you remember PS1 character models being, meaning they are significantly better than PS1 character models, but are like in the spirit of them. So good. Yeah. So good. Like,
it's paced really well. There's flashbacks, flash forwards, and present timelines all structured in a way in which the story beats hit harder. Different characters, like in certain situations, you understand them a lot better. Like, it's just really good. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
What, 2.5 hours tops? I'm going to play it again. Yeah. I hardly ever replay games. I will play this one again. Like, absolutely.
I don't want to spoil it, but that one speech, I'm sure you probably know what I mean.
Oh, Swansea speech.
Yeah, Swansea speech. I was just like, my jaw like dropped when I got to that part. I was like, is this the best bit of video game writing I've seen all year? That was so powerful.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing if Mouthwashing ends up being our like Indieventure Game of the Year just because we're both so passionate about it?
Yeah. Just like very loosely dancing around this character. There's an old guy on the ship who's very much the archetype of, I've been here for years and I know what I'm doing. And he's been 16 years sober. Obviously, Mouthwash has alcohol content in it. And so this man breaks his sobriety when he's forced to drink mouthwash. And it just brings up all these feelings. And he has this speech at one point and it's really heartbreaking. And this like 50-year-old man who's kind of an arsehole throughout the whole game. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you are one of the like most well-written characters
Hell yeah.
of 2024,
Hell
hands
yeah.
down. Like, I fucking love Swansea. God damn it, this game!
Right? Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. I've not played their previous game, How Fish is Made. Apparently that's fucked up as well, but I guess they were known for that.
Yeah. As a pescatarian, I don't want to know.
Wrong organ as the devs. But yeah, mouthwashing is, yeah, definitely incredible work.
I don't want to play this. I've read about it. I know what it's about. I've heard some people say that it's as good as Silent Hill 2 in terms of it being
which is reviewing very well, by the way.
Everyone was chatting Silent Hill 2, and I was like, this is where the horror games, this is the horror game we should be talking about.
Yeah, but I will say, Silent Hill 2, another indie dev success story. They PT'd so hard they got hired to remake Silent Hill 2, and they nailed it. So let's just...
You know what? I will never eat my words harder than that game being good. I was convinced they were about to shit the bed with that. And I was like, there's no way that's going to be good.
Right? Oh.
Whoever at Konami said the first time we'll show off this game is with one of the wankest combat trailers you've ever seen in your life. Fire them. Because the showing that game had up until the point where it came out, I've watched a bit of it. I'm like, oh, they've actually got this right. This looks great. But yeah, mouthwashing. I don't want to play it, you two. I simply don't. It looks too spooky.
It's hard to recommend, but it's...
Yeah.
I watched... Gab Smulders did a really good stream of it if you want to like half... like, because I thought I'll watch 20 minutes and drop out because I don't like body horror, and then I sat and watched like a 3-hour playthrough in a single sitting because I was so compelled.
It's the same as Crow Country. Like it's not like ooky spooky. It's more like harrowing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's atmospheric horror.
It is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like this is the same as Crow Country for sure. Like if you can handle Crow Country, this is fine.
Yeah, it's not.
See.
It's not.
I think I will
spooky.
play it.
It's hardly spooky at all, I would say, but it is like, yeah, harrowing, psychological to the extreme. It's like.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Don't feel like I would never say it's not one that I would just recommend to anyone for sure. It's a tough sell.
I've recommended this to so many people. I was to my brother. I was like, you have to play this game now. He was like, oh, I'm playing this. I was like, drop it, play this game now. And then I just get a text. I get a text from him being like, Swansea man, literally is that speech.
Swansea,
everyone
though,
is like
having played Still Wakes the Deep. I still need to finish Still Wakes the Deep, but I feel like in one speech they nailed what they were trying to do with like entire character arcs in Still Wakes the Deep. Like no shade, it's another good indie horror game from this year, but I was like, wow, that's so succinct to just have it in one.
Yeah, so Richard saw a playthrough as well, like you. I wonder which one he saw, but
maybe I'll watch a playthrough. Okay.
So good.
Well, amazing. It's wild that pretty unknown indie dev can come out swinging like that against what is arguably the most high-profile horror AAA of the year and still get a chunk of the conversation. So, fair play to Wrong Organ. I even hate their developer name. Shall we do some very quick hyperfixations?
Yes.
Well, welcome to Hyperfixations. Rebecca, what's your hyperfixation?
Just a quick one from me because I think I mentioned this a couple of episodes ago. I have now read the new Jacqueline Wilson Girls novel that came out recently called Think Again.
What did you think?
I really enjoyed it.
I've been reading it. What people have been thinking. Oh, really?
I really enjoyed it. My only thing was that I thought it ended quite abruptly. I kind of hope that she's maybe thinking of like spinning out to another trilogy or something because I thought the end was too sudden. It was like not a bad ending, but just the build up was so much, and then it was just like it basically cuts to black just as things were getting like to the point where I was like, and what's the resolution? And it's like, oh, okay, not happening on the page apparently. But other than that, it was like just such a wonderful like nostalgic revisit to this series that was like so important to me. Like a lot of young people, probably particularly young girls in like the late 90s and early 2000s. I grew up really resonating with these characters, and to like catch up with them again when, you know, they're all 40 in the new book, which is a little bit older than me, but nevertheless, it's like it really hits in so many good ways. And the fact that they're all still friends It's her first published novel for adults, which I didn't realize. I know that she's been doing more follow-up stuff on her 90s and noughties characters lately, but still very much within the context of her children's books, where they now reappear as adult characters, which is fun. But it was to see it like properly done as, you know, an adult narrative from that point of view was just really nice. It's like the right kind of nostalgia in that it didn't lean too heavily on being the same type. It's a very different type of book. The voice is very different. But it's so nice to go back to these characters. And like, speaking personally as someone who is still really close to two female friends I've known all my life, it really was like, it just hit in a really special way. And like I say, the main thing is still that I thought the end was a bit too abrupt, but I would hope that maybe it's because she's planning to like do a little bit more with the concept. But yeah, so recommend that. It's a lovely, unexpected. Like I never thought she would do something like that to bring the characters back in middle age, and yeah, it's great.
Love it.
It's great that she's still writing.
I love that she's still. I see people were hating on it a little bit, which I got disappointed about. Yeah,
I haven't read anyone else's because I was reading Jacqueline Wilson when I was probably under 12 years old, and so I just, you know, like reading book reviews online was not in any way a concept I had, and I have felt no need really to. I think I read the Guardian review, and that's kind of it. I haven't felt the need to get involved in the discussion around it online. I'm just like, I know what it means to me, and that's kind of where I'm happy to leave this. So,
and that is beautiful. Love that. I mean, it's TikTok. TikTok can be a hateful place.
Oh god, I've never even had a TikTok account, so I would not comment. But I think you would like it, Rachel. I think it's like it hit right, and I needed something a little bit light but not patronizing to kind of match the energy that I had for the sort of like tail end of September when I was reading it, and it works a lot. Good.
Love it.
Nice. Good rec. Rachel,
that is a good rec. I've been obsessed with the reality TV show, The Real Lives of Mormon Wives. It is incredible TV. God. It is absolutely amazing.
Okay.
I am a big fan of housewives, reality TV shows, specifically Beverly Hills. But there's something about The Real Lives of Mormon Wives, because they're all in their early 20s. The youngest is 19 and the oldest is 30, that it just hits different. These young women got famous. They're Mormons that got famous off TikTok, and the drama that surrounds that is that one of them basically went on a TikTok live and said she was part of a swinging group within the Mormon community, and everyone was just like, what the fuck?
I know that. Okay.
This is these Mormons.
Okay.
Oh.
So I guess on the back of that, they got this reality TV show. It is fucking wild. These young women are very catty. They are passive aggressive. It's a new generation of just like women being kind of shit, but also, and this is why, you know, there's that consumable, stupid reality TV show muck that I love to shove into my mouth hole. But at the same time, it's also interesting in that these women are very, what they would call like modern day Mormons. As in, there's a lot of aspects of like the Mormon religion, which is super sexist. But the fact these women are like, well, I have a business and I'm divorced and stuff. But like, it's interesting in that these women can only be as feminist as their very sexist religion allows them, and how each individual woman deals with that is really interesting. And the conflict that happens because of that is also really interesting. So like, some of them are divorced, which is obviously not a thing you can do in the Mormon religion. Some of them got married when they were very, very young. Some of these husbands are so disgusting and very sexist in terms of like being controlling. But also this idea that all these women make fucking tons of money off TikTok, and how their husbands kind of deal with that. And it's just really interesting in that respect. I didn't know much about Mormons. Apparently there's loads of Mormon reality TV show those. Like, I had no idea. Like, Sister Wives is one, a really big one. Never seen
Sister
it.
Wives is huge.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. This is the one that really resonated with me and so many others, because they are young, forward thinking, but also there's that interesting conversation happening about wanting to be super feminist, but you're kind of there's a ceiling in terms of like what your husband will allow or what your religion will allow, your God will allow. So I find it really interesting. Also, it's really fucking it's wild. It's wild. It's wild. So it's the best reality TV show I've seen in ages, and I fucking love it. And yeah, I can't wait for season 2. And it's just very consumable TV.
Wow, I'm like
done.
I'm stunned. I mean,
only you could talk about that in a way that was insightful. When you said The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I was like, brilliant. Okay, I'll lock in for fascinating. Okay, what's that on?
So I saw it on Disney Plus, and I had a free month of it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this show, not realizing that it has properly popped off online.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, because all these women have TikTok millions, thousands, millions of TikTok followers.
Okay.
And everyone's talking about the wild shit that happens in these episodes. Like, episode 1 is in of itself just like, what the fuck is what is happening? What is going on? Like, oh my God, something really interesting is obviously they can't drink and they can't smoke or anything. So the way that they kind of they find loopholes around it. So like some of the young women, they're really into body augmentation. They get plastic surgery and stuff. But when you get plastic surgery, you get the gas to help you relax. So they get super, part of it is that they go to get a little, touched by an angel, but also they get super high off this gas as a way of so it's part of that. And instead of having caffeine and alcohol, they're really into soda. Like the fizzy drinks business in Utah is off the scale. Like they all have their certain order of fizzy drink and all these concoctions, witches potions of syrups and drink and fizzy drinks and it's wild. So I just really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. I was just like, wow, I didn't know. This is a whole new world to me. My God.
Huh.
So yeah.
God, stop making me want to watch rank reality TV shows.
Yeah,
God,
it's you'll watch it and you're like, wow, that justification of wow, they're caught between two worlds. No. It's just me justifying it.
I mean, I love that. I know for a fact that I get sucked in after 20 seconds. I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I love the drama. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
Damn.
I just find it really interesting. I just, it's a bit different for me than other reality TV because of that. I just ate that shit up. I was just like, God damn, this is really interesting. Undergarments. If you're a woman, you wear undergarments everywhere. It's stuff you wear under your underwear. So to everything. And so the way that these women, because of the certain clothing they wear, it's there's modern art undergarments, or sometimes some of them don't wear them. And some of the women are judgmental towards the others because how Mormon are you? It's really, I find it so interesting. I was just
a lot of dynamics at play there. Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
I've watched so many ex-Mormons react to the show and telling it from their perspective, which I love because I was I missed that, didn't understand that, didn't know what that was. Yeah, anyway. It's very good. Love it. I've just been eating. Yeah, so good. But yeah.
Nice.
How about you then, Liam? What are you hyperfixating about?
My hyperfixation is, and I will be so brief about this, it's Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D on 3DS.
Awesome.
This is so random. Why am I playing this? I don't know. So, like I mentioned, I hacked my 3DS. This is an early 3DS game that is weirdly valuable because once you play it, it permanently puts a save game on the cartridge and you can never restart it from scratch. So getting a version of this game that's fresh is quite hard. So I bought it during the pandemic sealed for £40. And this is 5-6 years after it originally came out, if not longer. In fact, it might have been closer to 10 years at that point.
Whoa.
So I never opened it because I was like, well, I don't really want to play it because it's just going to go up in value, but then I always feel weird about that. Anyway, I hacked my 3DS and I just downloaded a copy because I own it. So I downloaded a copy. Not that that stops me. But I've been playing this game, and as a Resident Evil sicko, what a fun little curio it is. Is it good? Absolutely not. It's largely piss, as Resident Evil was in the early 2010s. They really said with their whole chest, let's finally make a standalone version of The Mercenaries. And then someone said, yeah, but what if 90% of it was just from Resident Evil 5? Scandal noted. They were like, okay, let's do that then. Should we put one level in from Resident Evil 4? Yeah, okay. Which enemies should we use? Don't use the iconic ones. Use some of the lads from halfway through the game for some reason, even though that's not where the level is. All right, let's do this. Should Leon be in it if there's Resident Evil 4 levels? No. This is not a lie. They said, Leon is too busy in the bad game Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, and therefore we can't put him in this game. Just put Barry Birkin and Rebecca from Resident Evil 1 in instead. And they said, cool, that sounds good. 6 levels fine? 6 levels are fine. What do you do in it? Just keep replaying them. All right, 40 quid then, is it? 40 quid. And that's what Capcom did, because that was before Capcom were the Capcom of today. Do you think the Capcom of today that released all of Ace Attorney games is the same Capcom that greenlit Resident Evil, The Mercenaries 3D?
No.
A game you can't delete the save of? No.
There is a
very
hard
different
line down Capcom's output, and it is Resident Evil 7 is the tipping point for everything.
Yes. On the one half of that line, you have Resident Evil Umbrella Corps, a game that I'm sure neither of you know about, and I don't want to
I
curse
thought
you
I
that
at
knowledge.
least knew them all, but no, I don't, as it turns out.
It's a multiplayer-only Counter-Strike style shooter that canonically says that Wesker survived the end of Resident Evil 5. I should not know that, but anyway,
Incredible.
The line is after that, and then you get, Resident Evil 7, a good video game. I'm playing so much of this, I don't know why. There's something wrong with me.
I love that. I genuinely like that you are...
You're a sicko!
You are
I really am a sicko.
When you talk about Resident Evil, you get to the level that I get to with any franchise that I'm fixated on, where you will just wade through the absolute crap to have seen it all, and I respect that so much.
I think after this, the only ones I have to play are Game Boy Color one, have to play, the Game Boy Color one Gaiden, Gun Survivor 2, and I guess, I very much sound like you here, Rebecca. I guess I have to play Gun Survivor 3 because even though it's Dino Crisis themed, it's still within the Gun Survivor series.
Okay,
So,
yeah, absolutely. You have to. I mean, you already know that you have to. So.
I do.
In
I'll
your
get around
heart,
to it eventually.
You know it won't be done until you've done that.
Mm-hmm.
That is, don't, because that is me with Resident Evil.
I know.
And with that, cursed hyperfixation, we come to the end of our first year of Indieventure.
My God.
Absolutely wild. Very funny that we've overran, because nothing would be more Indieventure than a 2-hour, 15-minute long podcast.
A little extra for our birthday as a treat. We were doing so well, and then we got onto mouthwashing, and we just both got so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like,
and the Ace Attorney chat that we had.
No, we just absorbed that into the running time. I've got an eye on the timer. It was going fine until mouthwashing was what derailed us.
Oh, okay.
But then it was good chat, so I didn't want to interrupt it. I was like, no, we should talk about mouthwashing. This is an important indie.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, thank you to the two of you for being such wonderful co-hosts.
Oh, and the two of you.
Yeah, no, you. Let's do the Spider-Man.
No, you.
All pointing at each other.
Yeah, all pointing at each other. Yeah.
But thank you for listening to what I hope is your favourite self-indulgent indie gaming themed podcast.
Yes.
Yep.
We'll be back soon. Will the next episode be your interview, Rachel?
Oh, maybe.
Is it tease? Look out for that. There will be a Rachel-led interview coming out soon.
We've got lots and lots of stuff in the works for while Liam is away. Like, if anything, too much stuff. There's just so much.
Yes,
so much
we are recording very shortly after this one.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you again.
Indieventure is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indieventure. Bye for now.